Are we on TV?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Joe? Okay. Finish these. So we batted 2 for 3 at town meeting, I take it?
Yeah, I did a very poor job of presenting the,
Oh, I don't think you did a poor job.
I think I did.
I think
it was tough for people to get on one bite, you know? And that's the problem with town meeting. You get a lot of people that this is the first time they look at it, and then they make a decision after like 3 minutes. So,
But there was a lot of comments against it about being flawed. So
well,
there was a lot of debate.
Yeah, it was very disheartening.
Well, that's-
Plus, when you have people on the planning board that vote through it in the planning board process and then vote against it on town floor,
that's not.
that's a little difficult.
I hear where
What'd
you
you say?
come.
No,
You don't
because
think
I
you
actually
enjoyed
asked,
voting voting
me.
against it?
I voted against it because I think it was flawed. And the question came up here about how do we get to the town meeting floor? Could I be against it? And the idea was, no, everyone had to be for it to get it to the town meeting floor. And it got to town meeting floor. I think it was flawed for some of the reasons that were mentioned.
Well, the time to have brought that up, Don, was here at this table.
Well, I asked the question before I went there, what if I voted against it? And said we had to vote for it to get to the town meeting floor.
Are you saying you flip-flopped on that
No,
issue?
I allowed it to get to town meeting floor. That's what I said.
Anyway,
Seems to be a really good lead-in to the June 3rd Housing Forum. That way we can look at housing in general, instead of trying to tweak one piece of it that is perceived not to be working. Let's look at the whole thing and see
you're good, Myron.
if we can start to make it work. The Housing Forum flyers are posted on the website. I gave each one of you a copy. Everybody's supposed to get in their electric bills within the next month, well, the next 2 weeks, I guess, copies of the flyer and the survey.
Okay.
Hopefully before June 3rd.
Maybe we should think about having a joint meeting with the housing forum. Extend the invitations if they want to join it, so we can discuss what our next step is. Does everyone agree with that? They think that's a good idea?
Say that again?
Have a joint meeting with the housing, or invite the housing forum to come for us to see what we can do for the next step going forward, or what bylaws they would like to see, or,
Now, this is the initial meeting of the Housing Forum?
Yeah, this is the MAPC is the consultant that's working on the town's behalf, updating the housing production plan. And hopefully, as part of that, there will be recommendations at the end. And so somewhere in the process.
right, I'm not saying,
During the process, after they get themselves
Right, once
established,
they get
then we
going.
invite them.
give them a little bit of time to get their feet wet. What about, okay, so we have to give Sanderson an extension, what are they asking for?
To the
Yeah.
12th,
Yeah,
June 12th. The document says no later than 19th, and the next meeting will be June 12th.
We're opening the public hearing on day 65, so both the attorney and I will also to get the extension,
Okay.
just in case.
Anyone have a problem with extending Sanderson still?
No.
No, makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
If they need the time, so be it.
Do we need to make do we need to do this with a vote, Aaron?
It wouldn't hurt.
I move that we extend
All
it to
those,
June
well,
12th.
I just signed it, but all those in favor of extending Sanderson's till the 19th of June? No, we're doing it till the 31st.
Well, right, extend the time frame to open the public hearing until the 12th of June, extend the time to file a decision until July 31st, I think, and to whatever extent we need to.
Change that again, well,
I move to open the public hearing.
so moved. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I said aye.
You guys,
So I sign it as a record for saying
I
aye.
move to extend it
I
to
agree
July
with that.
31st.
to July 31st. Yeah.
Just in case later I get asked.
Consensus. Okay.
The Orchards subdivision, is anyone coming here for that?
Mike, believe so.
We've got to be here within 5 minutes, right?
I'll walk you through that, looking at the minutes from April 10th.
I move to approve.
Well, actually, the only thing that would probably be helpful to add is on the first page for the A and R Lot 7 Sarah
Did we,
Dublin.
are you seconding that motion to approve the
No,
meeting
I'm
minutes?
not. I'm asking for something to be added to it, if you'd let me.
Well, let's open the discussion. First, we have to move to approve and then second.
No, you have to fix them first. If he has a question about something that's on it, you have to fix it first, then move to approve.
Yeah, This is easy.
You
This
can,
What is your,
The only thing I was suggesting on the first page where it refers to 15 house lots close together as cooperative is the name that they gave, Kimball Shores. Just so if someone goes through the minutes, it, you know, helps them understand it. So it's on that first page, and it's under that part about A and R lots up in Sarah Indian Way. It just makes it easier.
300 King Street is Castle in the Trees, correct?
yeah.
Right.
And I think that you ought to reflect that it says the board voted 4-0 in favor of this motion. How, 4 of us were here? You, Jerry,
Jerry wasn't here.
Donnie? Jerry wasn't here?
Right, I think that was the case.
You were
right,
here,
I was
Phil?
here.
All right, so- And Donnie was here?
Yes. Any other issues with it? Well,
The
entertain a
rest of
motion
that was
to
fine.
approve it as written,
Yeah, with a one.
with that one
clarification.
caveat.
Yeah.
Anyone want to second that? So
Sure.
moved?
I'll second.
So moved, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Can we get to the Orchard subdivision?
I was sort of surprised with Tom Harrington's comments, or Chris Heap's comments about the bonding. And I mean, maybe the real question isn't whether we could ask for more bonding, but it sounds like it's now a separate project, whereas before it wasn't. And there's a real question about, is there sufficiency for these houses to stand alone and be occupied?
They will not be able to get occupancy permits until the wastewater treatment plant is functioning.
Right, exactly. So that's my concern. Before, I think it was,
Right, and town council understands your concern, but there's no legal method to draw any of the cost of the wastewater treatment plant into the bonding.
but I wonder if we should at least give a warning or stipulate that if these are sold, that warning be known to the buyer that they cannot occupy that facility
The Board
until
of
there's a
Health will be
waste.
doing that.
Right, and then they deal with the method of treatment, but my concern is it's not viable until some other project is up and running.
See, I have a problem with that too, to be perfectly honest. I don't want to bond this until we have a timeframe from the developer. Is this the developer
Sorry,
here?
this is Pete DeCarolis.
Just talking about your project. We've never had a project in the town of Littleton where there's no provisions made out for the people to buy the house, and then everything else has always had a septic, their own septic system. There's no septic system for this project.
There's a permit to build the sewage treatment plant.
Right, so people could,
So it's the same thing, it's just on a larger scale.
no, it's not exactly the same. It's one house, one sewage treatment plant. You're now tying into a project that was approved that has nothing to do with these houses, and you want us to bond the road, and people are gonna put money down, start to buy the house, and there is no time frame or no mechanism for them to know when they're gonna be able to occupy their house. As planning board, we'd be remiss if we didn't at least have some sort of mechanism or way to let people know that when they're buying this house, that there's a good chance that they're gonna be waiting a long time for, or some period of time, I shouldn't say a long time.
Well,
There's-
you know that,
depends.
it's a 6-month process to build the treatment plant. We're all very well aware of that. The owners are getting ready to start that. They're actually staking everything out now. Within the next few weeks, they'll be starting that process. Everyone's highly motivated to get going over there. And everything is in order for them to get going. and
Well,
the
But the
games are starting.
surprises happen, and there's a dependency, and it isn't denial, it's, giving warning to someone that there's a dependency.
Yeah, I had
It's an unusual
pretty sold.
situation.
Actually, on the building permit applications, they have to get sign-offs from several departments. One of the stipulations that Jim Gareffi said he was going to put on it was when he signs it, he will give a letter, the building, when Jim signs the building permit application, he'll put a letter in the building file that says he won't sign off on the occupancy permits until the wastewater treatment plant is functioning.
So that's-
And he signed off on it.
Which makes good sense.
Jim actually doesn't have any purview over that. We have
It's
spoke
DP.
with town council about that, and he's actually not involved with that. I have applied for building permits already. I have a couple lots on Grist Mill, and the building inspector has issued those.
Have you, the people that bought those, do they have an expected date of when they can move in?
Yeah, we have extensions built into the PNS.
I didn't ask for
And then we
extension.
we have dead-end dates. If we can't deliver by such and such a date, then they get their deposits back.
Yeah, my concern is the people buying it, and also, I understand the occupancy stuff, but that's far along, they're captured, and they may be surprised. I want them to know up front there's a dependency. And that isn't,
Everyone, all my buyers are completely aware of that. I'm completely aware of that. Everyone has 1,000 questions about how the whole treatment system works. It's not, I understand it's not very common to see a sewer treatment plant on a residential subdivision. So we have educated them the best we can. We have plans that show my project, the apartments, the townhomes, where the treatment plant's gonna sit. Their attorneys have lots of questions throughout when we're working through a PNS. The attorneys have tons of questions.
my concern is that it be explicit, it be upfront, and they be fully aware of it, so there are no surprises.
They certainly are.
Don, aren't you crossing over the line into Board of Health?
No.
No?
I think you are.
It is a house self-sufficient,
No,
period.
I
And it
absolutely
isn't-
think you are crossing over that line.
Well,
May I
I
have-
don't think I am.
Excuse
Let
me.
me
Wait,
finish.
wait.
Can you let me
Excuse
finish?
me, let me finish, please.
Well, you're
Naren?
one interrupts.
Excuse me. Naren, has town council read in on this as to what our purview is, the planning board's purview in the discussions with the sewer treatment plant?
The questions I asked were in the email that I get put in your packets.
There's about bonding, and there was some other question.
What was that you were
Doesn't
saying?
address that.
I couldn't hear because you didn't get to finish. Would you explain that?
The town council answered the questions that we had asked about bonding and including any of the wastewater treatment plant in the bonding, and you can't do that. I'm not aware of any process that the planning board can add anything to a private agreement where the developer is selling the lots.
So in other words, we
Okay.
can't be judge, jury, and executioner
All right,
over him for the
Right.
purchasers, the people who purchased
Right.
the building.
thank you.
We've raised.
Yeah, but somebody, wait, time out, somebody has to
I didn't
protect,
think there was any.
somebody needs to protect the people buying these
Yeah.
houses, so to make sure that they're aware. It's no different than when we approved Whitetail Way, to make sure all the people that bought in Whitetail Way knew that it was in a blasting area. We made sure they were on the deeds and
Right,
everything
you
else.
did
Yes.
that during the subdivision process. Here you have an approved subdivision.
Right.
And then the only thing that you have in front of you is the bonding, and you have to trust the building permit process, is all I can say.
Mark, your lack of knowledge of how the process works is
I
not
don't,
good.
I know, I totally get the fact that we have no jurisdiction over it.
Well, then,
But wait a second, we do have jurisdiction over the bonding of it and the fact that the pipes have to go through the roadway and everything else like that. There is a part of it that we do get a chance to take a look at. All I'm asking is, before we sign off on this, I want to make sure that the residents who are buying these units are made fully aware, and I'd like to ask you, when are you telling them that they can actually move into this? When do you think?
We have a few different dates. The first house is sooner, but the first ones we're shooting for mid-November.
Of this year?
Yes.
That the sewage treatment plant will be up and running by mid-November of this year?
Yes.
That's what you're telling everybody?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
No, not everyone. The first house. Because once I start building houses, I need the first house is gonna be built first, and I'll need a few weeks after, and then a few weeks after. So not everyone has the same, I'm not gonna close on 6 houses November 15th. I'm not gonna be able to build them that quick.
But will the sewage treatment plant be up and running to service those 6 houses?
Yes, it will be. And if it's not on the first one, for instance, we have a month extension built in. We have a dead-end date of January 30th. And at that point, let's say the worst case happened and the sewage treatment plant was not operational, they get their deposit back. And all the purchases.
I understand that you gotta work certain things, nothing goes easy, nothing's on time. But in respect to these people, and what Mr. Montanari is asking, let's assume you come to November 15th and it's not online, these people have sold their homes, and all they get back is their deposit, where you've,
A lot of them are in apartments.
Pardon?
A lot of them are in apartments.
Well, that's not really, I
Right,
understand
but
that's not my problem.
We
It's
have
someone
told them
theirs.
up front, because there is a chance. It could be done sooner. It could be done a little bit later. Where I have expressed that to every, I'm not making promises to people I feel I can't keep. I don't want to disrupt their life and say, yeah, November 15th, and it's not realistically going to be ready till March 15th. That's not going to benefit me. It's not going to be good for anyone.
Well, don't you
It
think
wouldn't make any sense.
Don't you think you're putting the cart before the horse by building houses 9 months before your sewage treatment plant's potentially gonna be up and running?
It's not 9 months, it's about 7 months.
It's 7 months, before the sewage treatment plant's gonna be up and running.
No, I don't. This is construction, we're aggressive, this is how we work, this is not unusual at all.
But, so let's take the next one. So then you're wanting us to bond most of the road. You wanna do minimal infrastructure in there. And you wanna,
And the reason for that is because I want to keep construction continuous. My road builder is starting now, so he's gonna, in probably 3 weeks or so, have the drainage portion of it done, and I would like to start putting foundations in without any interruption in construction. So this is why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it.
well, at least we've made the 3 people that are watching it on cable TV are aware that, there could potentially be a gap as to when you think it's
Every
gonna.
customer is completely aware of that. We've had long discussions with every customer.
I just don't want the town to be in the position to have
I
to
understand.
defend themselves when people go to the building department and say, well, why aren't you giving me a certificate of occupancy? I have no place to go, I have to move out of my apartment. I just want to make sure it's not, the town doesn't have egg on its face, it's your issue, and we're doing the best we can to make sure people are educated about it, that's
Yeah.
all. I have no problem with the numbers, I have no problem with the
Yeah,
concept
yeah.
or anything else, I just want to
You
protect
wouldn't be
their
blowing egg
potential.
on your face, by the way. It'd be me, not you.
But we would have the problem.
But we're the town of Littleton, we're the planning board for the town of Littleton, the building
Yeah.
department is gonna have the same, people aren't gonna care. If they have no place to go and they're expecting to move into their house, and we all of a sudden say, oh, your house is nice, it's all done, it looks great, you
But
can't move in.
it's no different than if you have a private septic system, a permit to build a septic system. This is a permit to build a sewage treatment plant. It's the
But
same
just-
thing, it's on a
But
larger
just
scale.
like you said, the local board, we rely on the local board of health to protect us there. The local board of health will not have any jurisdiction over this, you've gone right past them, right to the state. And that's where we lose our level of confidence, because the board of health isn't gonna be able to at least try to help the residents that are gonna be in this catch-22, which we hope doesn't happen.
It's not
All right,
going.
well, okay, I'm just saying, we have a bond in front of us, you know that we don't take performance bonds or anything, it's a cash bond.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, yeah.
Are you okay with the layout of this bond as it sits before us right now?
That's another spreadsheet, yeah.
Does anybody have any questions about what he's asking for?
Okay. When we started this spreadsheet, bonding discussion, he was looking at including everything in the bond. Right now, he thinks he'll have site prep and most of the drainage work done by the time he wants the lot releases to go record those. He has requested, and actually Green International has reviewed this, and I got their final comments today, which is why there's a new spreadsheet. The bottom line is, Eric at Green said If there's around $400,000 in there, he's very comfortable that the town would be able to go in and build.
If we have to,
anything.
okay. So 399,
Right,
228.
Peter, what's different is erosion controls. The town felt like we need quite a bit in there for maintenance over time.
Yeah, where is that? This is
Right,
changed by about
sorry,
$70,000.
Number
since
1A,
it's,
right at the top. It's not removed from the bond.
1A for extended price 7560?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
You see where on the right, we have new columns not removed from the bond? Or, excuse me, removed from the bond on the tree cutting and stumping. So on 1A, that would remain in the bond.
The 7560.
Right.
Okay.
And then when we got down to 2C and 2D, the catch basin, the manholes,
Mm-hmm.
he was wanting to leave those in the bond instead of removing them.
Why?
Because we had
Who?
Jim started the comment,
Yeah, I'm the
Jim.
one that started the comment.
Right.
Mhm.
And then when Eric reviewed it, he looked at the bottom number and said if it's about 400, he's confident that the town will be able to do everything. So that's those two.
Can I ask why the catch basins and the manholes would be removed?
The castings, because.
No, it says catch basins and manholes.
Because you said you want to remove all the drainage.
I want to install all the drainage?
Yeah, that's why you think you removed that from.
Well, no, he didn't remove the 2C and 2D, the catch basins and the manholes.
Right.
Oh, because I thought we just talked about just the castings.
Well,
The catch basins and the manholes will be installed.
Will be
It's a crucial part of the drainage.
right.
Yeah, I asked about the castings, because generally what happens when you put the manholes in, you leave the castings below grade,
Right.
and the same with the catch basin grades.
Yes, yeah, the castings are fine, keeping
You
that
know,
out, yeah.
that's what I asked for.
So there must have been a misunderstanding.
What would the numerical value be associated with this? If these were
$300 a piece.
What we have in it now?
But,
I'll-
but Green has already said they want the bond at 399, 228, for close to 400.
I think there was a misunderstanding, Marlon, though, is that, I don't think he meant take out the
Right, well,
value of
we
the
could go
catch
back.
basins
We could go back again to green.
and the manholes.
I'll tell you, I have no issue about not even bringing up this tie-in to the sewer, but I would, I have a strong issue about maintaining the advice counsel of our engineer, so if he's asking for 399, I'm there.
No, I just think there was a mathematical,
It's all right.
I think when he was saying take the castings out,
I'm not interested in listening to small, changing any of the numbers.
no, but Marlon, did he say take the castings out and you backed out the manholes and the catch basins?
Eric did the updates to the spreadsheet, I didn't do these. And he said bottom number he was comfortable with. If you want me to go back, we can go back again.
Is there a problem? I mean, how much difference are we talking?
Well, it's
Then if it's,
$45,000 difference.
if he's happy with the bottom number, how we arrived at it, and this means something else is not taken out of it if that's the number he's looking for. So it might behoove you in some respects to stick with this as opposed to having to go back and come for another meeting. And
You're gonna be
that way-
asking for a chunk of it back
So
very soon anyway, right?
Well, when would that be available to get reimbursed? It's gonna be something I'm gonna put in initially. These are by Mass DOT numbers, so they're much larger than what it actually cost me. So at what point would I get that money? It doesn't say when I would get it back. Typically, it would
Okay,
be,
the process is, as soon as you have something complete and I have the inspection report for it,
Mhm.
you request that amount back, bring that to a board meeting, they vote on it, and then I turn the paperwork over to the town treasurer and he processes that.
right, but the way this is structured,
Mhm.
what I'm trying to do is post bond after step 1 and 2. But according to this, even if those are installed, I won't get those back. I won't get those funds back.
We can do a partial.
Right, and they will do partial releases, it's just,
Right.
you're right, tonight you wanted to vote on the bond amount.
Right. So if you come back, if you come back when it's actually comes time to post the bond, how long do you're actually gonna wanna post the bond.
I'm gonna post the bond as soon as this drainage is complete. But the issue, I think there's a misunderstanding here. There's an issue, it never shows, there's for the catch basins, $23,600, and for the manholes, $22,050. It never shows when I would get that back. Typically, it's when I install those, Green would go do the inspection, it'd say it's done, and I'd get that back.
That's exactly what will happen.
Right, so, but it's not worked out that way on this.
It won't be until you actually do the work.
Right.
We're assuming that none of this is gonna be, we're assuming none of this is gonna be done. That's why the bond amount is the way, it's
If you're
$390.
interested in a, you know, a line-by-line return of the bond, I don't think we have any issue with that.
You come in and say that that's done, you
Yeah.
want to release, Green says, okay, all the catch basins and all the manholes are in.
Marvin, this number, 399,000, right, this was 600,000. So what is this 399? Is this after step 1 and 2?
If you look, there's a column that says removed from the bond.
Yeah,
All those items were removed.
okay.
So site prep, some of the drainage. So the 188. was removed.
All the piping, all the other control structures are removed.
Tree
The,
tree cutting.
No, but the misunderstanding is that the overall number was
Okay,
$600,000.
We're doing the same thing again.
Yeah,
You
No,
want
no,
the
I don't think, I'm sorry to do this, but there's definitely an issue here. The overall cost, let's say I wasn't going to do any work, wasn't gonna cut trees, put any erosion controls up, I'd have to post a bond for $600,000.
Right.
All right, so then, I backed out step 1 and 2 myself, and it ended up being about $335,000. And that's factoring in your 20% contingency factor.
no, it would be $399.
Well, no, actually, if you take all of 1 and all of 2 out, it is, but the town, Jim and Eric are saying, please don't take all of those out.
But they're going to be done. So that's what I'm saying. So she just said, don't take them all out, but you guys are saying, as you do install that, you'll get it back, and she's saying, no, so when do I get it back for those? Do you know what I'm talking about, Jim? You
If you
understand
have
the
it-
this
right.
discrepancy?
Partly I understand. Well, my issue, I asked for castings only, not the actual catch basins. Those are gonna get installed, so there is a little bit of confusion on the price on that.
That's the issue right there.
Right,
Just
but if
that
you bond them,
particular item.
and then they're completed, then you come back and ask for the bond from the town.
Can I just point something out on this to each of you so it'll be clear?
And I'll just speak to the erosion
When he
control.
was saying take castings out, they took out
Right, but we don't have
catch
drains.
basins and manholes.
Are there any there now?
No,
You're asking for bond tonight, right?
Yes.
So there's none there. So we have 23,000 in there in case tomorrow you don't do it. Then when you get them in, we'll give them back to you. 399 is what our consultant wants, 399 is what we're gonna vote tonight. That's all you're gonna get, we're not gonna change it. If you wanna come to the next meeting, when that's all done,
If that,
we'll do,
that's fine, I'm not posting $399, but when I go and post the bond, it's actually gonna be a little bit less than that, because the catch basins and manholes will be in.
no, it's not.
The math is off a little.
It's gonna be 399, 228, that's what you're gonna send to the town of Littleton for this bond. Right now, whatever we agreed to tonight is what you're gonna post. When you wanna come back and tell me that this is done, Green goes out there and says it's done, you'll get it back. It's,
So when the catch basins and manholes are in, I'm gonna get that back too?
when the consultant says he's good to let it go, we'll give you the money back. You don't have it now, you're asking for a bond right now.
I'm not,
Right?
right, but the numbers don't add up to $399 if those were in, if that was installed,
Right,
it would be about $339,000.
but they're not in.
I know they're not in, but I'm not looking to post the money right now. It's that the numbers are gonna be awful when they are.
Would it make sense to continue to the next meeting?
Oh.
or
It's
just
up,
right
it's
now?
up to you. If you want to continue
No,
it.
What he's asking us
I
to
don't
do,
think, maybe I'm not conveying the
Here's what-
discrepancy correctly.
let me see if I can interpret. What you're asking us to do is post a bond for less than this, assuming and going in good faith that you're gonna have some of this work in when you go to post the bond.
Yes.
So what I'm thinking we could do is do a conditional approval of a lesser amount on the condition that that work is in place, and if it's not in place, it's the higher amount.
Do you have the letter that I wrote asking for the lot release?
I think what Richie said is pretty darn close to what he's after, and it makes sense.
Was that clear?
Well, you said it exactly correct, and what I'm trying to do is if you were to take all the expenses for the whole road.
Yeah.
Like I said, if I'm not cutting down a tree, doing like 600,000.
Yeah.
If you were to back out what's in step 1 and 2,
Yeah.
it ends up being that number that I have on that sheet.
Right, but the town and Green, neither the town nor Green is comfortable with completely taking out 1 and 2. Maintenance of the erosion control. and then-
That's okay, so that changes my number slightly, but not by 40,000.
And then the castings covers, or castings?
Yeah, I mean, to me,
whatever
those are $300 a piece.
they're called. Okay, so 300,
So that puts it about $10,000 over my 335,000. So, to your point, Mark, so let's call it 399. But when I do build the first part, step 1 and 2, the structures that are not removed from bond get removed from bond. Because it's gonna be in and installed
Right, and is it inspected?
Yeah.
when the time comes.
Yeah, they'll go out and inspect.
Right.
But just before we release any bond money, whatever, it's inspected and in the ground cut, correct? So what he's asking for is entirely feasible.
Right.
Fair.
It's just
Correct?
this number.
It's fair to all involved? To the town? Is it fair? Then that should make sense to me.
Yeah, so what I'm just trying to stress is the number's not gonna be $399,000 when that work is done. It's probably gonna be $350,000. I don't care if you approve 399 tonight, just as, what I'm just asking is, give me the credit for the structures if they're in.
So Peter, if I were to make a motion to approve 399 or a lesser amount of 350 if the structures are in,
Yes, I'd be
you'd
delighted.
be okay with that. Now, would Jim be okay with that?
Yeah, because again, I'm a little confused, and I asked for castings only, not structures, because they have to put the structures in,
So
to put the drainage in. Doesn't make any sense to give them the pipe back, but not structures, because the pipe has to go into the structures.
So what would you feel would be a number that you would feel comfortable that these castings are in?
The castings won't be in this, the.
No, but I mean to cover for the bonding of the castings.
I mean,
Or,
I'm not good with math about it, so.
Well,
Peter.
you've agreed on the numbers, right? That are in this spreadsheet, Jim?
okay,
You've
so
worked with these numbers? So what he
If you have-
he doesn't have this in front of him,
you have
but
15
Yeah.
castings, because do you have one for each structure?
Yes.
Okay.
There's
You said
not-
$300 a piece?
Yeah, it's 45.
$4,500?
Jim, there's 9 in the road. The other ones are off the road.
Don't. Are you putting them on?
The ones off the road I am, yeah.
Well,
All right, keep it 15 to keep it simple. Don't worry about the bigger numbers, which are the catch basins and the manholes.
We're talking $4,500 here?
No, 45,000.
44. So it's somewhere March.
so.
I think our conversation earlier pretty much nailed it on the head, that if he produces these things, they're in the ground, they're inspected, and they're happy with the installation and
We just
everything
have
else.
a note on how you write this up with that phrasing in it, then that's great.
So are we, Jim, are we talking 355?
I think Maron's working it out.
Yeah, all right, let's see what that number is. And then,
But regardless, the bond presently, until he produces the work, the bond is still $399,
That's, yeah,
correct? And
Well,
once you
if I haven't
produce
done
these
anything,
things,
the bond is about 600,000 if I haven't done anything.
well, let's just see where you end up when you come back for the signing of the bond, and if these things are produced,
no, we'll be improving it tonight.
That's what he's asking for tonight.
Yeah.
Then conditional.
Right, so it just
You can
makes
probably
sense.
work up the numbers pretty quick.
but you still have to produce these things. And if you don't, then that number is correct? It's just how fast we give you your money
And
back.
just to make sure that I understand where you're coming from, is it okay to For erosion control, that will be in place, but we'll keep that amount for maintenance of the erosion control over time.
Yes.
We'll change it to
Yeah.
call it maintenance, and that way,
Add the word
Which is like
maintenance there.
7,500, you good with that?
Yes.
and then for castings, we'll call it 4,500, and then, so if the manholes and the catch basins are in, the 45,000 minus the 4,500.
Is removed.
40,500 difference.
Wait, we just had two different numbers again.
No, no,
4,500?
4,500,
Less.
what will remain for the castings. And if the catch basins and manholes are in place, and inspected,
45,000.
That's 40,500.
will be removed from the bond.
Correct.
Okay,
And we'll leave the
Which will bring it down
4,500.
to that number of
okay.
Yeah.
Is everybody good with that?
So it, the,
54 something.
so we're knocking, what's the lower number now?
If everything that's gonna be in the 354 range.
I don't have a calculator with me, but it looks like
Plus
it's,
40 is 90.
it looks like it's 41,000 less than
something
the
less.
399.
But we're keeping the $4,500 in and the 7,900 or whatever in for the erosion control.
Right.
So that's good. I think that's fair. Are you treated with respect?
Yes.
Just check.
Okay.
So it'd be around 358, Maren, is that right? All right. So, and you okay with that, Peter?
Yes.
358. So I would make a motion. We're going to approve the bond for 399,228 tonight with the condition that if the structures are in, the bond will reduce to 358.
And inspected and approved by
Right,
Green.
at the time of
Yeah.
bonding, the bond will go down to 350.
Good.
Yes. And just to reiterate, at the time I post the bond, the lots get released.
Yeah.
Okay,
Very good.
he's asking for a vote. So I can't just release the lots, you need to vote on releasing lots. He's asking for a release of lots 1 through 6,
Wait, are we doing-
19, and 20.
We doing two things at once here? Or we're going to vote on the bond first?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was jumping ahead.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
So I think we need a second.
I second Richie's statement.
All in favor of the bond being 399,228, and at the time of bonding, if the infrastructure that the, in question is in and inspected, it'll be reduced to 358 and whatever change.
Great.
I agree. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now that we have the bonding issue out of the way, we now need to talk about lot releases.
Mr. DeCarolis has requested releases of lots 1 through 6 and 19 and 20. Lot 21, I gave you the sheet that shows you where the lots are. It's not part of the covenant, so that does not have to be released.
Maren, do you want this back?
Which ones are not part of the covenant?
Lot 21, which Green's in front, has its frontage on Personnel Road. So 1 through 6, 19 and 20. Conditional on,
On the lots, the
Bond being
bond being issued first. I'll entertain a motion to approve the lot releases of 1 through 6 and 21, condition upon, up,
19 and 20.
and 19 and 20. 19 and 20.
So moved.
19 and 20, okay, that's out of the road. Condition upon the bond being in play with the town of Littleton.
So moved?
So moved, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I know you by any chance? Have we ever met?
Yeah, I think so.
Any idea where?
A couple of minutes ago, I can't remember where, but
But we're not friends. And we're not related, right? We're not friends, we're not.
I don't.
He's another builder.
Just curious.
All right, we have,
Treated fairly and with respect.
we have a
You're not my
7:15,
friend.
we're running really, really
Related
late.
to me? Are you related to me? Are you related to me? No.
But you're related to everybody. We have a
I'm
7:15.
not a Montgomery or a Crory or a
No,
bunch
don't.
of them running around.
I live here by myself.
With me.
7:15, continued site plan for the proposed temple in Groton. 719 Great Road. Yes.
Excuse me? Yes. My brother-in-law, Matt Field, and Sheila are part of the Matt Bob thing. So I may ask some questions, but I can't vote. I want to make sure that, they're related to me. So I need you to know that. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, let's ask the board. Does the board have any problem with Peter staying on?
I don't have any problem.
I don't have any problem.
I just want to make sure there is no problem. You got a problem with that, Donnie?
No,
No. Okay.
voting I might, but
My name is
certainly.
Ian Rubin, from Mark Ian Rubin. I just want to recap where we left this off last time. I think the only concern you had was screening on the immediate lot to the right. We did have a meeting with the butter. They are present here tonight. We didn't come to any conclusion at the meeting, but we have come to a point where I have an offer, what we intend doing, and I can show you this plan. It shows you a picture.
Yeah, have the butters seen it too?
Yes, they have, we discussed it, then what you see in the formal, this, but we sketched a hand sketch on this.
Thank you.
Basically, the idea is to add 6 more trees at the top part that actually are partly on their property. And we have not, we don't have the agreement from them to do this. However, we are quite prepared to do this at any time. They give us the agreement. If they don't, well, we won't do it. But this is what we're prepared to do. And with that, we would please like to close the hearing.
Be nice to hear from the butters too.
Oh, yeah, just a couple seconds. Now, drainage is not going to be an issue. There's no water coming across on the
No.
property.
No.
There's catch basin catching it, needs to go out into the street, correct?
Correct. There's no, absolutely no increase in runoff onto their property at all. There is, I mean, they downhill from our property, but there's absolutely no development above them that's going to affect them.
Oh, no, it's just the Yes, we gave you a month to kind of talk to them to see if you come up with something that would be,
Right, they proposed, we have thought about it, we have not given them an answer at all. They had proposed putting additional trees in place. They did ask if maybe possibly they could dig on our property a bit. And we thought about that, and I don't think that's a good idea. In terms, so the trees, they talked about putting up the blue spruce and stuff like that, and that was all their proposal. When they talk about the water, I mean, yes, it's not going to affect us, but if you look on 119, already the water pools severely, like in front of our house and in front of the, alongside where the mailbox is, and that's right abutting the proposed entrance. So, I mean, there's an issue, maybe it's not our property directly that's being affected with water, but that's going to be affecting the road and traffic and such. And I do want to mention one thing that wasn't brought up in the last meeting, but I think should be, is the traffic study. I mean, there was a traffic study done in 2004, but as far as I know, there hasn't been one done recently. And there was, if I may get this document, in 2004, there was a letter from Fay, Spoker, and Thorndike, and that they found the site distance is appropriate, assuming that there was roadside vegetation is kept clear, and that roadside vegetation that they're referring to is in that curve coming down in Groton, because it curves down, so it has to be a little bit more than 500 feet. And that property is next to, I think it's 990 Boston Road, and it's right on the vernal pool property there. And that would need to be kept clear in order to have the proper sight lines. And I don't think that has been reevaluated or discussed. So I'd like to submit that. And then my other question is, who's going to take care of emergency issues? Is it going to be Littleton or Groton, the police or the ambulance, who's handling all
I would
that?
assume the town's going to work that out. That's
The
probably-
two towns
the
are
two
gonna work
towns,
that out?
yeah. I'm sure they'll come to some sort of mutual aid agreement on that one. As far as the traffic study, how many questions are you expecting?
We do have a traffic study that's being presented tonight in Groton.
Okay.
Essentially, when we're talking about on the right-hand side there, that property is in Groton. In fact, it's owned by Matt Bob.
No, I'm talking about the property next to that, beyond Matt Bob.
With the Vernon Pool, the one further past.
Yeah, they own quite a large lot right next door there.
Well,
I'll tell you, I have no issue with this.
I don't think we really have an issue with this,
Yeah.
the town of Littleton doing anything for the site distance and for a traffic study for this.
Yeah, and the trees were a proposal to try to add some screening for you, but if you don't want them, that's
No,
fine.
I did say that, I just said that we hadn't
Yeah.
answered him on that.
But
We need
won't-
to close it tonight, so we're gonna assume that you're gonna continue discussing it with them and come up with the best plan that you can.
Absolutely, we're leaving it open, absolutely.
All right, so that'll be all right with you, leaving it open, so,
We just won't condition the approval on the tree.
No.
we don't have that.
We don't.
You won't.
Okay, so you guys will keep an open door policy with the neighbors and
Absolutely,
do the best you can?
absolutely.
Did the board have any other questions?
No.
Just hope it works out.
Oh,
Peter, do you have any questions?
I move to close the hearing?
Jerry, you just walking, do you have any issues?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
It's a site plan, so it's just a meeting, not hearing.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the plan as presented to us.
So moved.
With no conditions.
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Good luck to all of you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
7:30, public hearing, renewed wireless telecommunications special permit, 28 Cedar Hill Road, water tank, T-Mobile.
Good evening.
I'll be ready.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board.
We have a reading first?
Yes, Richard has to get, he gets $100 every time he reads.
Thank you. The public hearing, wireless communications facility, Cedar Hill standpipe for T-Mobile. Town of Littleton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, May 8th, 2014 at 7:30 PM in room 103 of Town Hall, 37 Shattuck Street, to consider the application to modify and renew a special permit pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 48, and the Code of the Town of Littleton zoning. Wireless telecommunications towers and facilities, Section 173 through 128, 173, 128 through 173, 133. Property location, Cedar Hill Standpipe. Map view 17, parcel 81, property owner, Town of Littleton Fire Department, applicant T-Mobile. The applicant is seeking to renew their prior special permits under the wireless telecommunications and facilities bylaw and to allow equipment upgrades at the existing water tank at Cedar Hill. Application and plans can be viewed at the planning board, in town clerk's office during business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed plan should appear at the time place designated. The town does not discriminate on the basis of disability. Further, a signed translation of this hearing will be provided for the hearing impaired upon request, contacting the planning board office 1 week prior to the meeting date. Crowley Clerk. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're on deck.
Mike Almeida, Tower Resource Manager. I'm here on behalf of T-Mobile, representing their interest in updating equipment at the water tank. The initial special permit and request for proposals that T-Mobile responded to a number of years ago requires 5-year renewal. It came to our attention really when we applied for a building permit, a discussion that goes back to January at this point. And the building inspector advised us we needed to speak with Maren and update that special permit. So we're here to do that. I can fill you in on the details of the modernization or the update of the equipment. It's pretty straightforward. There is a plan attached I'm not sure if you gentlemen, I agree. Okay.
It's just 6 antennas replacing antennas.
Exactly. Sort of, in a nutshell, that there is one additional fiber cable that goes up the cable tray, not visible to the public, so. So the modernization component of it is very straightforward. But prior to commencing that work, obviously we need the special permit to be renewed. There are no changes in the location of the antenna, the height, no changes on the ground in terms of the space that the equipment occupies. No, not even the cabinet changes associated with this particular update.
So it's roughly the same modular size antenna, or?
Yes.
So why are the antennas being replaced, I guess? Just
Yeah.
trying to understand it
It's
better.
new technology, so, the cell phone revolution, smartphones are really driving the need for a different kind of antenna to serve all the voice and data functions that the phones support now, so.
Fourth generation.
Yeah.
These are smart antennas,
I don't know how smart they are.
They,
So careful to support it.
same color.
They'll be painted to match like the existing antenna.
Last
They are
time-
Some dimensions.
This is the water tank, correct?
Yeah.
Didn't we just have
Yeah,
Verizon come through here with the exact same thing?
It's all come, everybody's upgraded.
this is not this place. The last time you came before us, about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, to upgrade the equipment on the ground, I asked you at that time if there was some sort of a screening that you could put around the antennas that are on the water tank. Some water tanks I see have this lattice work of screening around it to blends, that makes it blend into the water tank. Is that something that we could ask for at this time for these new antennas that are going in?
Could, it's extremely expensive. It's not possible with every tank. Normally when there's a shroud on a tank or a shield, normally it's above the tank. These are located at the top of the tank.
Yeah, I've seen these right
So this would have
up
to
in the
be,
tank.
there'd have to be a structure created that was welded to the tank, that hangs off the tank, and then the shield, antenna go on the structure, and then the shield is applied to that. It's quite expensive. I mean, we're talking about something.
You want to shield the pals?
Shield
Maybe tens of
the
thousands.
actual antennas themselves with a screen.
How large are the antennas?
Yeah.
The antennas are the same height and width as the existing
Right,
antenna.
It blends it in. It takes
They'll be
the-
installed
I've seen
at
it
the
before,
same
but
place.
could you just tell me what the dimensions are?
Yeah, 12 inches wide,
Blends it in.
56 inches tall, 8 inches deep.
And they're the same height as,
Yeah.
they're the same color as the,
They will be, yeah, they all come white, they have to be painted to match the blue tank.
The main concern here is the noise of the air conditioning. I realize we're not changing that, but, yeah, that's the main concern in the community, and wakes up people at nighttime, et cetera. But there are no changes there, as I read.
Yeah, T-Mobile is probably the, well, it's not the only carrier, but it's one of the few carriers who has no generator. So its HVAC equipment within the cabinets is actually not, it's not something you'd hear beyond property line. The decibel rating is ambient level at property line. So if there's a generator, then obviously, there's more noise associated with that.
So do
So
you,
you're saying we have complaints for noise for this site?
It's already done.
that we've heard in the past. I mean, is
Has
there
been a
anybody?
complaint before from the
But as
neighbors.
part of this
Are there any
application,
neighbors here?
are there any complaint for noise?
No, I said it isn't covered here. There's no changes with that.
We don't have it.
But I was just elaborating that the concern isn't the antenna.
Just
so much,
asking if there's
it's the
anybody here
noise
who's-
from the generator.
We did have it added, we added screening to it the last time, I forget who it was came, maybe it was Verizon came before us. We added
Arborvitae's.
more screening at Provides and
Right, and that
fence.
was at the building, he's got
Right.
cabinets inside.
Right.
So I just want to check, this is the scale, is this an accurate scale on the water tower, on the tank?
It's probably, I would guess that they put a not-to-scale note on there. I mean, it's approximately correct.
It's
but,
approximately correct?
Because it's a reduction, I would say, they avoid, I'll tell you what they do, Joe. Because they're trying to focus in on a very limited change here, they try not to redraw everything that was drawn in the original special permit. So we could probably give you those dimensions. They call out the elevations of the various antenna arrays, but I doubt that it's, well, they do give a scale below it, and there's no NTS note, so it is a scale
Seems
drawing and
accurate, right?
reduced. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, when you drive by this water tank, do you notice these problems?
Yeah, you see it from the beach.
Yeah.
Have you driven by?
You see,
I mean, you see these paddles sticking out?
No, you really don't.
119.
They blend in.
Usually the problem with water tanks is the cabling. You know, it's harder to paint the cables themselves, so.
Besides,
it's
we don't
tray.
have the jurisdiction to arrest.
I'm just asking if you think these paddles constitute a visual
Pollution, yes.
You do?
Visual
it's
pollution,
nothing like
yeah.
Newtown Hill.
No.
Yeah.
Those are
Do we
very
want to ask, I mean, do we all feel that way?
No. No, plus
I
we.
mean, I think it's probably okay the way it is. You do see it from the beach, that's where you see it mostly. And you see the
I've been
landscape.
there
and sticks
15
out.
years, and all the only complaints have ever been about the noise, and that we've addressed that as much as we can.
That's what I'm asking. I mean, do we want to impose
We can't
a
because
financial
you'd have to-
condition on an applicant if we haven't got a visual pollution complaint?
It's
I mean, it
my
shows,
prerogative
there's no
to
question
ask
about
as
it.
a-
It's
as
the
a
way it
board
has
member.
been.
No, to ask the board,
Yes.
right?
To
Are you
ask-
asking the board?
Yes, I'm making a recommendation that we ought to, we add some screening.
I don't think we can, because we'd have to go back to the original bid, and then you'd have to do engineering to figure out how to put this, secure this to a water tower that the town owns, and that they don't own.
Just for the record, though, you said that you don't redraw everything on here because there's some redundancy, but also, you're also telling us that the antennas you're putting back up are the same virtual size as the ones that are coming down. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're assuring me of that.
It says that.
I won't come back later and tell me something different. Because that happens sometimes.
Did we get
Say
a
one thing
fee
and
out
then
of
they
the
say something
Myron?
later. So I don't really have a
We
problem
did.
with it, to be honest with you.
Okay, good. We
No, I
got it.
agree. If they change the size of the antenna such that it's,
Outstanding.
now it looks like a Mickey Mouse tower, that'd be different.
And there's two more sets of antennas above them, too. It's not like they only set up there. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Any comments?
I don't have any comments. Anyone I asked if there were any neighbors, anybody had any, nobody said anything. Speak down or forever hold your peace.
I'm okay.
I'm okay, I have no problem with this. This is an extension upgrade. They've been doing it for the past 15 years. We all have cell phones in our pockets, hopefully they'll vibrate. It's just what we need to live in the society these days. So I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing and to approve the,
I believe I gave you a draft decision.
you want me to actually read something?
It would be number 3.
Yeah, 3E. Decision, the applicant desires to replace up to 6 panel antennas, operate existing ground-based equipment, cabinets, and associated utility interconnections as described in the application and supporting documents. At the board's meeting on Thursday, May whatever we are, the board voted to hopefully grant the wireless special permit as described herein. The conditions: antennas cannot be installed above the height of 100 feet. Noise should be in accordance with the bylaw. A 6-foot tall stockade fence shall be installed all the way around to house the ground-based equipment. Plantings consisting of arborvitae shall be installed around the stockade to provide as much greenery as possible. All signs shall be in accordance with our bylaw. There's no lighting of any sort on the tower. If installation is non-operative for a period of 12 months, it shall be taken down. This special permit expires in 5 years. All conditions of the prior special permit shall remain in effect. The special permit does not become effective until the special permit is recorded at the Registry of Deeds. All those in favor of the conditions that I read, please signify by saying aye.
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 I just want to say that I'm going to say aye, but I still have an issue with the visual pollution.
So 4.5 ayes.
It might be harder to actually shield them. I mean, they stick up, but it might be stranger with
Thank
something
you.
additionally on it. And visually, it's there. Yeah, you see it. but-
We have an opportunity here to correct some of that. and-
No, we don't, Richard, because you would have to have all kinds of engineering done. You just can't weld that to the water tower.
Of course we do. This is a re-establishment of the permit.
No, but it wouldn't have been. They don't own the tower. They would have had to get permission from the town to do it. You would have had to, you're gonna shelter them, you have to shelter the two above them. So you'd have to have a whole
Mark.
design done.
End it.
I was all done with it. We already took a vote. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
7:45, oh, we're close. Public hearing, Aquifer District, special permit, 330 King Street.
Thank you.
Oh, I did that one. Oh, 330 King Street Congregational Church. All these churches coming in. Better than banks, I guess. We have a public hearing to read, Richard.
Just because I said I would prepare one, not trying to lead you too far.
You want us to approve it in one night? Come on.
We've seen,
All right, read it, Richard.
Soon as Marin's ready.
She's ready. All three people in town want to hear you read.
All right,
that's making assumptions.
public hearing, Aquifer District Special Permit, 330 King Street. Town of Littleton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, May 8th, 2014 at 7:45 PM in room 103 of the Town Hall, 37 Shattuck Street, to consider the application for a special permit pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, in the Code of the Town of Littleton zoning, Aquifer and Water Resource District. Property location 330 King Street, assesses map U19, parcel 37. Owner, Congregational Church of Littleton. Application is for an Aquifer District special permit to allow an increase in impervious cover for a site with over 15% impervious and septic flows in excess of 6 gallons per 1,000 square feet of lot area within the Aquifer District. The proposal is to allow the church to allow an addition to the church and site access and site updates. Application and plans can be reviewed at the Planning Board Town Clerk's office during their business hours. Any person interested in or wishing to be heard on the proposed plan should appear at the time and place designated. Richard Crowley, Clerk. Thank you.
Well said.
Well, it's a good project.
Okay, you want to give us a brief overview?
Good evening, Bruce Ringwald, GPR, Warren Terrell, representing the church. The site, as you know, is 2 doors down from us on King Street. The site is 2 acres of land adjacent to the road. The legal ad is just a little misleading in that we're actually going for a decrease in impervious area in the aquifer protection area. This plan shows the existing conditions. What I'm proposing here tonight is what our full plan is over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, maybe 15. We've broken it into 2 phases. The first phase I'll show you after I go through what the whole plan is so that you get a full understanding for the site. The existing parking, our entrance to the property right now is a wide curb cut to King Street here, and a very wide curb cut to King Street in front of the church. They've got barriers that they've put out there because of tractor-trailer trucks that swing through to do U-turns. They set up in a scenario like this where they park parallel, the cars themselves are parallel to King Street, and the circulation is perpendicular to King Street. Proposal will be to reduce the curb cut along King Street to a standard 24-foot width entrance and reduce the curb cut over in front of the church to a much smaller one to allow for drop-offs in front of the church, uses for weddings and for funeral services, to have a closer entrance to the front of the church, the sanctuary itself. The parking will then switch so that the aisles will run parallel to King Street, and the cars will be parked perpendicular as shown on the plan here. This does a reduction, this in the removal of a lot of pavement in front of the church, combined makes a reduction in the amount of impervious surface on the site by about just 2,800 square feet in round numbers. The front entry to the church is going to create a new sidewalk. Right now, there's a diagonal set of sidewalks that come down and in. And most importantly, would be a new entry area to the parish hall side of the church, where the Sunday school is. This entry will have, right now on that side is a very flat roof on the top. This will have more architectural style to it, mimicking the roof lines of the church itself, and give it an entry that comes straight in and then can go straight into the parish hall or cut over into the sanctuary. This will allow for some handicap parking spaces adjacent to the church area, and again, reduce this. In the pavement area over here to the side, I'm going to step ahead of plan, we'll be removing 2 catch basins that have a direct discharge to the drainage channel that's at the toe of the slope, and going in with some low-impact development BMPs. There'll be water quality swales to water quality basins. That'll have a mixture of soil and plants within it, and then a under drain to allow for a slower discharge and a treated discharge of the runoff water into the same drainage channel that's in the back of the property. So right now, there's no treatment, other than there is T-sumps in the catch basins, but there's no treatment of the water other than pulling out some of the suspended solids that exist currently. Big change here is, many of you are aware, there's a 42-inch corrugated metal pipe that goes under King Street and goes all the way to almost to the back of the property here. This pipe has been in place for a long time, and it's not quite complete. The bottom is rusted. It's had a scenario where they had undermining here a few years back, and they've had to do some repairs and patch in the area. As part of this development work, they'll be removing this culvert and replacing it with a 36-inch smooth interior polyethylene pipe. The smooth interior pipe will actually, 36 inches, will actually allow more flow through than the 42-inch corrugated metal pipe. We'll also be replacing the bolt that's here now, which works as a manhole that picks up 2 of the catch basins on the side of King Street and ties into that, so that there'll be a proper manhole here with a manhole grate to the surface for access. There is no surface access right now. To get in there, you've got to crawl down the pipe.
How are you going to transition from the 42 to the 36?
Within the manhole. There'll be a 42 comes in and 36 will go out.
All right, so that'll be a custom-shaped manhole.
Well, the manhole will be an 8-foot diameter manhole, because you have a 42-inch pipe coming in on one side and a 36-inch coming out on the other at the same elevation. So you need an 8-foot diameter so you have structural integrity to the structure. We are having conversations. I've had numerous conversations with the state to see if we can get them to upgrade their section of the culvert at the same time. If not, we'll be doing some patchwork in the base of their culvert as it approaches so that we get most of the water to come in and go through. But I don't have anything definitive back from them at this point in time. We're hoping that they can come to some agreements on that and have that work.
So will you dig to the street?
No, we'll dig to the structure.
That's it.
Which is on our property. And we'll set up the dam for dewatering and run dewatering down to the back here, which is part of our filing with the Conservation Commission. So that pipe will be replaced. Relative to the circulation around the building, there is, of this portion of the, well, let me keep going on to the other. Around the back here, there'll be a new sidewalk connecting the back doors. And then over here, I have a thing that's taped in, is labeled as future addition. This would be a very nice architectural addition to the church. That portion is probably 10, 15 years or more down the road. So I'm showing it. I've got it as part of the proposal because we've taken it into consideration relative to our calculations for impervious area on the site, so that we're not we're letting you know what the whole game plan is, and we know where we're at.
So you still pick up 2,100 feet of impervious with the site change, including the future addition?
We still decrease
Decrease,
2,800
that's what
square
you
feet
pick up, yeah.
with that addition on there. Okay? So that covers the addition, covers the walkways, covers the whole parking lot. This is our phasing. The church has gone out and they've done a capital campaign project. They've raised enough money to do a massive amount, about 80% of the budget is going into the building and 20% into the site work. They'll be running in new water and electrical service. They'll be putting in sprinklers throughout the building. They'll be redoing the Sunday school level, redoing the parish hall level. They'll be putting in a new kitchen. A massive amount of reworking within the building, new stairwells within the entry area. Part of these things, this walkway around the back and this little deck area off to the side, are for emergency egress should there be a fire or an emergency. These create points, this little bump out on the back and this bump out here. And this one here are emergency spots where if there is a fire or an emergency within the building and handicapped people can't get out from there, they move to those locations, and the emergency services know where those locations are and they go there to check for folks. Because from there to here, we cannot make handicap access out of the building in the back. It's about, what, 3 feet lower than the existing grade, the basement is, in the back here. This area that's shadowed, and the areas that I just talked about in the building, are what is going to be in Phase 1. Phase 1 will incorporate this first water quality basin and removal of this catch basin and discharge, and this piece coming in here. It'll be the pavement and the reworking of the curb cuts and all of the access and the pipe and everything that's in here. It'll be the bulk of the expenses to the site. We have incorporated today, after I had site walk with a couple of the Conservation Commission members, a slight change whereby we want to increase the swale to this water quality basin across to here, about where it would come to in the final grading for the site. And we're proposing to pull the grate out of this catch basin and put a metal plate in place of it. Adding in a little berm of about 6 inches high here, because the ground is already higher than it is at the catch basin, so that sheet flow water across here will not go into this basin and get discharged, but it will flow into here and into the low impact development basin, and then slowly discharge out that way. It's kind of a thing that we came up with as a compromise. Conservation Commission was excited that we were doing this, but not so happy that we were leaving this one till the next phase. So it was a quick pro quo to address for that. So this is a sketch plan that I can leave with you this evening for that minor change. It's very minimal from what we're doing. It's just extending this grading and plating off that. We did not carry in the budget at this point for the removal of all that and the restabilization of the embankment. That'll come into the next phase.
So is Phase 1 going to decrease your impervious?
Phase 1 definitely decreases the impervious. The next couple pages are details. I can go through them if you want, but this is pretty much what we have proposed. Again, we're decreasing the impervious area. This is a modification to the existing site plan. I will say that we are within the Aquifer Protection District. The Aquifer Protection District is established, as you're well aware, 15 to 30%. Our existing coverage is at 44.2, 44.6,
Yeah, that's fine.
I think it is, and we're going down to 43.2. So we are making it better, but more importantly is that we're doing treatment to the water, the storm water, before it discharges.
Did we talk about some offset when we originally came in front of us? Didn't we talk about that?
We talked about, previously we came in, because we weren't certain exactly where it was going, we had a proposal to bring parking all the way across over here, and it was going to be increasing.
You were going to increase.
We were going to increase it, and then we were going to have to look at offsite.
Right.
Okay?
But
We're not doing any increase at this. Phase 1, Phase 2, no increase in impervious surface. and the addition of this building, which may not get built for a later date, there's still no increase. But we would like it on record that for this proposal, have the plans on file that we'll be at this point.
She's done a good job of trying to listen to what, we've seen this a couple of times.
Yeah.
You incorporated most of the concerns that we had, and you did it without having to add a piece of land to it. I think you've done a great job with it, and addressing the issue of getting the drainage across the roadway too. Does anyone on the board have any questions?
No, it looks good.
One comment, on your C 3.1, you have a sewer line in that street too. C 3.1,
C 3.1,
you have a sewer line there too.
existing in the street?
No, Force Main,
Yeah, existing in the street?
yeah.
Yes.
You just don't show it, but you show it cutting the street,
Yes, that's correct.
yeah.
Wasn't anything we could tie into, and we'll be well aware of it when we're going through.
Peter, do you have any questions, concerns?
No, I have hired GPR in the past. They've done engineering for me. Is there a problem with me voting on them?
Not a one. Don?
No reason why that would be a problem.
Making sure.
It depends how you're gonna vote.
Anyone
I'm
else?
getting watched, so.
Anybody here have any concerns, questions of the board?
No, they did a fine
Good
job.
job, it's nice
No,
to see.
they've done a very good job.
Yeah, well
You
done, set
listen to
of
what we had
plans.
to say. You and Walter.
And Warren, you don't have to climb down in that manhole anymore
All right.
after this.
I guess Myron, I'll read. Myron has a aquifer district special permit. Suggested draft decision, thank you. So why don't I'm just gonna put in the high points, the conditions. All right, we have the dates, she'll put in the dates and all the good stuff. The board made the following specific findings regarding the proposal of the site. At the boundary of the site, the groundwater quality will not fall below drinking water standards. Egress is adequate to accommodate police and fire. Road, water, and drainage will adequately serve the site. Visual compatibility is improved by the updated proposals on the site. No current threat to the environment is reduced due to the drainage improvements. No significant nuisance, no substantial harm to the neighborhood or degradation from the intent of the zoning bylaw. The only condition she's putting in is semi-annual groundwater.
They don't have any wells on the site now, and that allows for if sometime in the future there's activity at this site that would warrant it, then the water department can ask them to put them in.
What kind of activities? I mean, it's a church.
Well, yeah, and that's up for the water department if they,
He'll know if they're doing something.
there you go.
Do we want to put, it's not an industrial use. Does the board want to leave it in there?
Leave it in there?
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, in the future, if they put a well there, would they need to put groundwater monitoring?
No, this is groundwater around the perimeter to make sure no hazardous materials seep out or anything else. It's not an industrial use, it's not manufacturing or anything else like
Water
that.
department
What's
did,
wrong with that?
water department
No,
didn't
but what's wrong
recommend it.
with, did they recommend it?
No,
No, Myron put
No.
it in there.
no, so we don't need that there.
You don't need that there? But it's a parking lot.
Yeah, and it's got
So
drainage.
Somebody's antifreeze, let's go,
It's
it's
got the
okay with
drainage,
you?
it's got the drainage, and no, it's not okay with me if somebody's antifreeze lets go, but it's got the drainage system that'll
We like it when
take
they
care
fight.
of oils and such.
And it wasn't even you.
I know. I know. All right. What's the board's, yes or no, yea or nay?
Yeah,
Leave
I
it.
would.
Take it out or
no,
leave
take
it
it
in?
out.
Take it out.
Yeah.
You want it in or out?
I think you should leave it in.
Peter?
Is this something that needs to be installed presently or in the future?
In the
Should-
future.
In the future.
You have
The
to,
condition reads for allowing it in the future.
Yeah.
If there's a well put in.
If the water
No.
department feels there's a necessity to have it.
To have
Way I
groundwater
read it.
monitoring.
right,
And I don't really feel that there's a problem with leaving it in. You know,
Yeah.
okay.
It's very unlikely that would ever get
Okay.
I don't know, it's something that we've done in all the Aquifer district and
All right, so you're not gonna put it in if the water department feels there's an issue, they're gonna,
Then you will.
then you'll agree to put it
Then
in.
they'll have to do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you might as well leave
Very
it in.
good.
Okay.
Be a rare occurrence.
Site allows for the...
I'm okay with that.
Okay, if they, okay. No storage of sodium de-icing chemicals. Groundwater will not be degraded below the water, drinking water. Fire department must be notified of any hazardous or combustible or flammable materials over 5 gallons. All the lighting conforms to the Littleton bylaw. Site drainage shall be maintained with an operation and maintenance plan. Special permit shall not be effective until it's recorded at the Registry of Deeds. Okay, with all that,
Is there any need to put in anything that Corey wrote from the water department about, the contractor must coordinate with the Littleton Water Department for a Mass DOT road opening permit?
that's
No.
pretty much
We have
standard.
we have to do that for the road opening and as well as for the curb
Okay.
cuts. We have the applications together, we're getting ready to file.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Aquifer District special permit with the conditions that I just read.
So
second.
So moved, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Site plan approval.
We'll approve the site plan along with it.
Warren, could,
Those in favor? Aye.
We have raised all the money.
that's
Good.
great.
Very
Warren.
good.
That's really great.
Oh, so did you be able to do both phases?
No, first phase.
Just first phase?
Yeah.
Okay, we get to hear from the tree warden today.
Will you have it done by 300th anniversary?
You're done by Easter next year.
So you'll miss it by a year. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hey Bruce, you ever heard of smaller plans?
That's all we do to me is the small one.
Save a tree.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Public hearing for scenic road special permit Neshoba Road. The Town of Littleton Planning Board and Tree Warden will hold a joint public hearing on Thursday, May 8th at 8:15 PM in Room 103 of the Shattuck Street Town Hall to consider the application for a scenic road special permit pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 15C, and the Code of the Town of Littleton Scenic Road Bylaw, Chapter 143. Location, Neshoba Road from Nagog Hill Road to the Acton Town Line. The applicant is seeking a special permit under the Scenic Road Bylaw to allow temporary removal and reconstruction of stone walls and removal of a small number of public street trees to allow roadway and drainage improvements. Application and plans can be viewed at the Planning Board and Town Clerk's office during their business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed plan should appear at the time and place designated. Richard Crowley, Clerk.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Tom Bigelow from Green International. We also have Eric Atkins here from our office. And we're here to present the proposed improvements for Neshoba Road. The project limits extend from Nagog Hill Road right here, across this board, down to the bottom here. Also go across the top of this board. This is Nagog Pond here. Back down to the bottom of this board, and this is the Littleton Acton Town Line, and that is Great Road right there. This board shows the proposed project. The dark gray is the proposed roadway. The green off either side of the roadway is the proposed off-grading, replacing existing vegetation, grass, any landscaping that may be there in front of people's properties. Also, the dark brown, they're a little tough to see, but they go along the northern border when we're down by the pond here. Those are proposed swales that we have on the northerly edge of the roadway. You can see the brown trees dot the roadway all the way from one project limit to the other. Those are existing trees, and we do have 2 trees that we are proposing to remove. They're over here in red.
Actually, right.
One of the trees has actually been cut down without, since we put in together our permit together. So.
Yeah, it seemed fine driving
Yes.
by. So.
Just a little bit about the existing conditions of the roadway. It is a scenic roadway, so that's why we're here before you for the special permit. It is a rural minor collector as defined by Mass DOT. The speed limits vary between 25 miles an hour and 35 miles per hour. It's 35 in the straighter stretch here, and then goes down to 25 miles per hour as you get by the pond. Generally, the pavement width is 21 to 22 feet wide. The pavement right now is in very poor condition. This winter was pretty rough on it. There are also substandard vertical curves along the roadway, so the roadway goes up and down in various locations throughout the project. There are wetlands on both sides, very close to the roadway. It's a sensitive resource area. Nagog Pond is Town of Concord drinking water supply and is also an outstanding water resource area. And like I said, there are many trees very close to the roadway, and also quite a few stone walls within close proximity to the roadway. The proposed project is a full depth reconstruction of the roadway, so remove the pavement, also take out the existing sub-base material and replace that with all new sub-base material, and then pave back over it again. It will result in the removal of 2 trees, a 6-inch pine and a 15-inch oak. Also, the removal and resetting of stone walls, about 90 feet of stone walls, and the removal of 5 feet of stone walls. That is just to accommodate one of our swales and not allow the water to get off the roadway safely.
And the last 2 different things, so there were 5 postings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the last 2 were the walls, okay.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
The overall goal of the project is to improve public safety for all roadway users, walkers, bikers, and drivers, and also to improve that existing pavement condition, the poor condition that's out there today.
The sidewalks out and there's no meandering path, right?
Correct. We evaluated both a sidewalk and a meandering path, but that would have resulted in about 3,600 square feet of wetland impacts, and also 36 removal of about 36 trees, I believe. So we will provide a consistent 21-foot pavement width throughout the project, and also improve those vertical geometry deficiencies that I mentioned. And also, as far as the safety upgrades go, we'll provide striping of the lanes, 9-foot lanes with a 1.5 shoulder on each side, and also speed feedback signs placed in between Cobb Lane and the parking area for the conservation land. Will be 2 speed feedback signs. Those are signs that blink, give you your speed as you're driving down the road. We're also going to place additional speed limit signs throughout the project.
Is it possible seeing what those feedback signs look like, being the scenic road, et cetera?
Can you permanent?
Yes.
Permanent installation.
And these are electronic?
Yes, they're electronic.
The incorporation of the speed feedback signs came through, we've had 2 local concerns meetings with the residents before we started the design, and there was a number of concerns with the speed of the travelers on that road, and the speed data we had also reinforced that concern. And one of the things we suggested, which was desired, was some speed feedback signs to be installed at locations.
Some of
Is
them
hooked
very
up to
The
server?
you're gonna take a picture of your license?
No, they won't go that far.
Radar.
They will be connected to the town's power. Solar's not an option in this area due to the tree cover, the exposure that they won't have from the sun. They'll be hardwired into the power, but
It'd be good to see what it looked like. I can think of some such as in Auburndale Street in Newton. It's flashing, it's really ugly, people are amazed with it. It comes in different types, and, being a scenic road, it might be nice having something that sort of fits in and isn't too ugly.
okay. We can look to get some of that.
Maybe full painted.
That would be a huge concern of mine. I live on the road, and you're talking about putting in lighted speed limit signs?
Speed feedback. So they'd only be in use when a car comes and triggers the radar.
Why do you have to have that?
We don't have to. Again, that came out of the concerns we had heard at the recent local concerns meetings we had had, the last 2 local concerns meetings we had.
Other citizens wanted that?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that was something that was also presented to the select board as part of some of the recommendations as well.
Okay.
There are other ways of doing traffic calming too. I mean, I would like to see what this looks like.
We'll get you some cut sheets.
Where in town do we have this now?
Yeah, I mean, it really changes the character quite a bit.
Do we approve that? Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you have raised, like walkways or whatever that could slow down cars, not speed bumps. Doesn't really impact the snow plowing, but yeah, I agree, speed's a concern, but there are different ways of slowing down cars. Having little lights.
We'd love to. What we can do is we can provide the evaluation we did and present it to the select board, and we can provide that to the board for their review of the evaluations we did for
various traffic calming measures for this road.
Do we have it anywhere else in town?
I don't think
No,
so.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, so I mean,
You
there's a
gonna do
real
that anywhere
concern.
else, and you can do it on New State Road?
It wouldn't be my call to put it on New Estate Road if there was, I think on that road, if there was an issue and a concern from the residents for the speeds there, and that was something that was desired, we would present that as an option.
So this is the only road that is contemplated on, even the
That's
ones that are
correct.
being, that you've already designed for the
That's correct.
future?
It's the only one that's doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's so
it
much
right
here
now.
of the
No, they have,
reservoir, the
there's
natural
two
resource
roadblocks
area,
being done.
the character of the neighborhood. I think this really is a concern.
New State?
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
gonna text some neighbors, but I don't know who said that they wanted that. The speed is a concern on our road, but we've, the children's signs, would those be staying?
Those will be staying, yes.
Okay.
The children's signs are not currently recognized standard signs, so that they're not signs that we would typically put up as a new sign. It's not recognized by.
But they're staying?
We're keeping
Or
the-
you, what would you put up instead?
There's really no comparable sign for that anymore. It doesn't exist anymore.
A children's sign doesn't exist anymore, or
That's right.
really?
Yes.
Based on national
Yeah, the
standards.
national MHCD standards, federal highway standards.
Because they don't want slow children.
Wow, okay.
So wait, those signs are gone, that's what you're
They're
saying?
staying.
They're staying.
The existing
But
signs
they'll
will
just
stay.
keep the ones we have, we can't upgrade them.
So, show us the trees.
The trees to be removed are right in this location, they're right next to each other. What's that?
So there's-
Right outside number 74 in
Down to two.
Shelburne Road.
Is there anybody here who's,
There were five that were posted.
To be, if I can clarify, there's some confusion. The project itself proposes to remove 2 trees. When Jim Clyde reviewed the site, there were some other trees that he identified as being potential hazards, and Jim can discuss those.
go ahead.
Yeah, I posted 3 additional trees. 2 of them are in poor condition that should come down anyway, regardless of whether the project is there. Technically, as a tree warden, I didn't need to post them because they're hazards. The third one that's in the middle is borderline. It's got bark missing on the bottom, it's got a big canker in the middle. It's really not in the best condition. It's gonna die over time. So, I don't wanna say a full disclosure, we were talking about the project. We already had it advertised, it just made sense to put them on. It really has nothing to do with the project.
Doesn't it make sense to take down that third tree? You're talking about the one in the middle of the 2 they want to take down?
Yes,
right?
that's what I was saying. It doesn't, it's not an immediate threat today, but it is in poor condition. and should come out.
And we would save money if we didn't have to at the same time.
Is this on the lake side, or is it on the side where the residents live? Where is this tree?
There is one right by your property that has the white notice on it. And then there's one further up, across from Apple Ridge Lane, and then there's a couple in the middle, like 74 or 76.
74.
That's the only one you're going to,
Take it out.
excuse me.
Can I have a moment?
Nobody has any problem.
Wait, ma'am, are you finished with Mr. Clyde?
That's
Yes.
all right, go ahead.
Okay, yes, sir.
I challenge you in the removal of the tree that's next to the base of our driveway. We've taken pictures of it, and currently it's residing my cell phone. It appears to be reasonably healthy. And the longevity of such is to be determined, how long that tree will be there. Hopefully it'll die a natural death. And I would challenge the town to commit its resources to spend time and energy and whatever to remove the tree, which isn't really necessary to be removed. And the other thing that it brings, it's a question for me. Some time ago, without my knowledge, somebody surveyed the front part of our property and identified a line, if you will, that has tags on it, surveyor's tags on it, like they had proposed to extend the width of the road, which didn't make any sense at all, from Corey's, you know where the big rock is in front of Corey's? Starting at that point and ending at basically the base of our driveway, with a straight line across that area. Why they would ever envision a line or boundary to exist there is beyond my imagination. That's one part of it. The other part of it, why wasn't I acknowledged that something was gonna be happening on our property without our knowing. So who's responsible?
There's, isn't there a county line that runs right through there, straight as an arrow?
No.
I'm not sure where this gentleman lives, if,
Yeah.
could you show me your address?
He's the very first house.
I'm
The very first house on the Acton side.
on the Acton side.
Yeah, it looks like the surveyor's tape had probably been in place.
Is it, what color is it?
What color is it?
Black.
The house is gray. You can't see it from
I'm
the
sorry, the
street.
flags.
Right, the branch sits up on top of the little knoll.
Okay, and what color are the flags?
What color is what?
The flags.
There's
The
no
markings.
flag, there's surveyor's tape that's on the trees.
Which color? What's the? color?
Orange.
Orange, okay. I don't think that's any line to designate the widening of a roadway. That's not,
Well, whatever. For whatever the rationale for somebody to be there, they were there without my acknowledgement. And it had been in place probably for maybe 2 years, because, you know, I can estimate that how much a tree is gonna grow in a year or 2 years. And one of the tapes, the diameter of the trees had grown around it, so at least a year, maybe 2.
Do you know that there's a boundary there that's called the county, it's called the,
it's the county layout for the roadway, and I believe that's
Well, the-
probably,
1868 county layout. It's straight as an arrow, and it runs way off the road.
Part of the land belonged to Concord because of the reform, because.
Anyway,
of
but
the
that's
lake.
not
No, no.
germane to what we're talking about. We're talking about the 5 trees in there
Yeah.
that Jimmy has talked about. We want to find out where they are, find out if the people that live around them want them to go, have a problem with them staying. Whether your property was surveyed 2 years ago is not, that's not.
Well, no, but I mean, it's just part of the general background of this whole proceeding.
The state may have come over to try to tell us where the boundaries are or something like
Yeah.
that. It's,
But these people have been involved with the surveying process of the Neshoba Road for some period of time, have they not?
Yes.
And so it leads to some degree of suspicion on somebody's part that they invaded the property.
We, you know, they have the right to survey and.
They have the right to survey without my acknowledgement.
you know what,
If we're in the
far
city.
enough. We're talking about trees, we're not talking about something that was done 2 years ago. If you want to file a complaint with the town of Littleton,
Yeah, I'm not filing a complaint with anybody, I'm just trying to find out an answer. Do you know anything about that process?
They survey the road and they mark the edge of the road is what they're doing.
Why would they mark our property?
Well,
On the other side of it,
I can't say it's for sure that it's your property. I mean, the road.
the other side, on the side of the wall that faces our house. Okay, and it's like probably a part of it goes off in a diagonal like this. From Corey's big rock down to the base of our driveway. You draw that
And
line?
that could be, the edge of the pavement is not the edge of the town road. We own a certain amount off the edge of the pavement.
north side.
No, not the stone wall. The stone wall is on our property.
not
The
necessarily.
stone wall is generally the property line.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's like in places, if you go back and look at that rock and draw a line, it's like 20 feet beyond the edge of the stone wall.
You're talking about the old county line. That's the county boundary of the road.
yes.
That's the boundary of the road.
Well,
That's the right of way for the road. It's right there on a drawing. I can show you this if you're curious.
I don't think so.
Anyway, that's
Well,
not.
whatever,
I'd
that's not
like
the
to ask
answer.
him about the tree that he says is not
Yeah.
Yeah.
in danger. What?
Do we know, where you describe the tree, what type, how large?
It's a, can he or can I?
Can anyone?
It's a, I believe it's a 26-inch maple, and you can, if you have the pictures in front of you, you can see where I slid my tape measure in between 6 and 8 inches in the hole in the bottom, and there's several holes in the upper branches.
The tree is currently flourishing. All the leaves are
Is
blossomed
it the
out.
Corey household?
What's that?
Is it the Corey household?
No, they're the
it's
ones.
It's before that.
They're
Oh,
before.
It's down at the center of the front.
It's right beside it.
It's a Corey one.
I mean, just trying to recall.
Is it in the way of the road being reconstructed?
No.
No, it's, so does that mean I ask them to sign a waiver that if there's any damage to anyone's thing, they'll take care of it? I mean, it's got a giant cavity in it, it's infested with bugs, you can see all the.
Was it in
socks.
the easement or not? Is it-
It's a town tree.
It's in the, yeah, so, yeah.
Well, why bother to ask the question? Just take it down.
it's just, they're just notifying to the public hearing process.
If it's the town's prerogative, why bother with the public? Why waste your resources?
Just so you have a chance to address
Process.
What?
It's a
your voice can be
public
heard.
process. There's a shade tree law, which means the public can weigh in on it, and just as you did.
I would submit, if you take the tree down, okay, that's your prerogative. I would just extend the problems to the point where you will have more people parking on the side of the road, leaving debris on the road as it is now. So it's contaminating the area for whatever purpose that serves.
Okay, so the real
beyond me.
issue is people parking on the side of the road not taking the tree down, right? That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, now the tree, he stuck, he put a tape measure a foot into this tree. It may be, now it's like I had a 200-year-old,
Yeah, catalpa tree.
I had a 200-year-old chestnut tree. I hated to take it down, but it's kept breaking off, because the whole middle's all dead, and it's just eventually, over time, gonna die. That's what's gonna happen to this. And while we're doing the reconstruction of the road, you might as well take it, and who's to say once you work on the road, if you're not gonna kill the roots anyway, it's that, if it's the one next to the picture.
Yeah, these, when we rebuild these roads, we're rebuilding them for a 20-year lifespan, is that right, Jim? Or hopefully longer than 20 years.
Yes.
But, and if there's something there that's just not gonna, it's not gonna live.
I mean, there's several, the leaders going up, there's several holes that big in the leaders.
The picture.
I would suggest the longevity of that tree is at least 5 years, maybe 10, and let it die its natural death.
Well, and maybe the concern is with snow and ice.
And then it lands on somebody's car. It'd be imprudent of us if it's.
As it resides now, it does not impose a safety risk to the roadway or anybody passing there, because the lean of the tree is towards my property. So if everything breaks off from the top of the tree, it's gonna fall onto my property, not onto the town road.
Provided the wind's blowing.
I just
Let's
say it's a
move
waste of
on.
resources.
Right.
Thank you.
So we have 5 trees in this whole, how long are we talking? How many miles?
Just over 1 mile.
Yeah, just over 1
So
5,900
we're
feet.
back to 5.
It's technically 2 for the project and 3 that I think should come down.
Okay, I saw 5 postings, okay, that's where I was confused.
That's what they're here for, 2
Okay,
for the project.
okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
And what about these speed limit signs? Apparently, there are a couple of my neighbors who are for it, but they can be
Yeah,
spoken with. I can talk
You
to
know
them.
what? I'm not in favor of putting the signs in.
yeah, I'm not either, I think we need to review
Joe,
that.
that's for the selectmen to decide. It's not within your purview.
That's what
You
I-
have the
that's
stone
what I
walls and
thought.
you have the street trees, that's the only thing you have under
Well, they
scenic
can't put, we
roadways.
can say they can't put it on a scenic roadway.
You can say that, but the
You know
selectmen
what?
have the final say.
Once we start putting the idiot signs up there all
Yeah.
over the place, they're gonna be everywhere.
You
Yeah, yeah.
can certainly
Can
make
you
that.
send
don't want
that?
those
I would
signs
love
on
to not put them on there because of the cost. The neighbors at the hearing that we had were very concerned and wanted them there. I'm trying to fix the road because it's a terrible, terrible condition, and we're just trying to get through it. If they don't want it, it's fine with me, because I can save a bunch of money by not putting them in.
I say we
There
should-
are some split decisions there. I don't like them, but my
We're
neighbor
here trying
John
to keep a historic
doesn't want
scenic
people
roadway
speeding
looking
on our
scenic.
road. That's
Putting an automatic device that, no, sir, sit down, I'm not, no.
Okay.
And you can make that strong suggestion to the
I
selectmen.
think we send a note to the
Yeah.
selectmen that these are the first ones, we're not, it's a scenic roadway. If they have an issue with the speed, plant a cruiser down there a couple of days, and or put a fake one in with a couple, whatever, but before you start putting,
Like one that looks like a coyote,
yeah, put one in
that
there.
goes back and
Yeah.
forth.
There are other ways to slow down the traffic, and other cities and towns do it.
Okay.
So wait, you all live on the street?
Yeah.
You should send a letter in too, that you don't.
To
the selectmen.
To the selectmen about speed limit signs, okay.
You get as many neighbors to sign it as you can.
Go
Right,
ahead,
I
sir,
have to
one
see.
more, as long as it's germane to what we're talking about.
Right.
May I offer an observation? My name's Ron Martin. I'm a resident. I've got property that abuts Neshoba Road. I've been to both of the local concerns, is that what they were called, meetings? And this group of people doesn't represent a large group that was at the very first one and a smaller group at the second one. So I would like this board not to necessarily take this input as reflecting the collective concerns that were represented initially. I'm in favor of that sign, that feedback sign. We drive the curves all the time. My wife drives the curves all the time. We've been passed by cars speeding on the curves. Anything we can do to slow them, anything we can do to slow them down is worth doing. I want more 25-mile-an-hour signs reminding people between where the curves start and the Acton line that it's still 25 in there. But they go up to 45, 50 by the time they get to the Acton line.
So the concern is slowing down the cars, this is one specific method, that there are other ways of doing this.
You think if somebody's
I think the feedback sign was discussed pretty thoroughly, and I think that the larger group of people that are represented here were in favor of that method. So whatever process is used, I don't think one meeting with a small group of people should reflect a final, should influence a final decision. And I'd like this board to consider what went on in the earlier meeting.
I would like to say something. I'm very much involved with coming action before the board for the Cobb property being put in place. Even though I won't vote one way or another with the Conservation Trust, I am president of that as well, and all that has been laid out for walking, so we're concerned about speed as well. Spent a lot of time there. The Conservation Commission has an area there. I think this really degrades the area, having electronic sign. I think something else needs to be looked at. You have the Concord Water Reservoir on one side, so a natural area. You have Log Conservation Lane on the other side. I think you need something that fits in there. There are various ways of slowing the traffic. Slowing the traffic makes sense, I agree. It's very fast. In fact, the rugged road's the only thing that slows it down now. And I agree, there is a
That
concern.
doesn't even slow it down.
No,
To be
I
real honest
understand
with
that.
you, the people who are going to go 45, 50 miles an hour, even through the curves, they don't care.
We're here for trees and a stone wall.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, there's a scenic
Let-
area.
let-
That's why I was surprised that there was some reaction to the sign.
Well, there shouldn't be any at this board, so let's leave it up to the residents and the selectmen to settle that. As far as the 5 trees going, I make a suggestion that the ones that are in Jimmy's mind will cause a hazard to the road or to the pedestrians or anything else, that he's outlined to be removed. The stone walls, you're gonna replace the ones that you damage, roll over, do whatever's necessary to put it back as close to the original state as possible.
With the exception of the one we noted.
And the one at 5 feet, we're gonna remove in order to have the swale. I make a motion that we accept his suggestions, both green and, put it to a vote.
And I have a question about the scenic road.
Would you second that, so we can close the meeting?
Listen, stop taking over the meeting and ramming it down people's throats.
Well, I waited long for you to make a point. Well, I'm young, I'd love you to make a point.
Well, what does the
The
scenic
motion's been
road
seconded? Yeah, you already did.
bylaw say?
Closed?
Do
The vote?
do we have the code before of us? I mean, this is something that affects the scenic road.
No.
no.
They're absolutely right. This has nothing to do with the scenic road, with
Oh,
trees
you're
and
kinda out of
walls.
order.
So, Don, that's something that I think if we decide to send a letter to the selectmen, we will. If you want to go before the selectmen, we'll discuss it there. It's not in our purview to make a decision on that. We can just voice our opposition to it. So I agree with the others that,
Yeah.
let's close the hearing and vote on it. The 5 trees and the stone walls as presented. All those in favor of allowing, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Yeah.
And we'll send our concerns to the
One
selectmen.
final comment. We know that these gentlemen did a very good job on Bruce Street
Right.
and Whitcomb. They did an amazing job in 2 very, very difficult, narrow, windy roads. All you have to do is drive Bruce Street and drive Whitcomb now, and you'll see that the quality and care that they took. They actually went around a tree because it was a very healthy tree.
Should be
on that
happy that
road.
they're spending the money to fix the road up, and if
Yeah,
it becomes
I
an
don't
issue,
think there's any concern about that.
the police should sit down and start writing tickets, because everyone's using it as a cut-through.
Because we went before the Board of Selectmen 10 years ago and asked them to start doing it. And Chief Kelly has us, we're on a rotation. So I don't see why we need those signs and.
Well, anyway, you guys work it out.
Yes, right, well, I understand.
And this is the
Can I just
planning
ask
board,
what the
not the
timing
conservation,
frame is on taking down the trees when, if it's approved tonight?
Well,
when you plan?
2 as part of this project will probably come down very early in the construction phase, which is hopefully going to begin this fall or this late summer. The ones that Jim has put up for removal, the 3 that Jim has put up for removal, I'll let Jim answer that question.
Yeah, we're gonna just try and fit into our schedule. We may take the other trees down to save money on the project. We can do it cheaper than the contractor. And we're just backed up with work right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have an 8:40 public hearing, Water Resource District Special Permit, 1 Adams Street. Thank you all for coming, by the way, thank you. Fucking tree people. You know, it really is in our purview, so we'll send a letter to them.
But it is a scenic road.
Yeah, but it,
We have nothing written in our bylaws.
I just think it sends a bad signal.
Yeah,
All
I
of a
mean, it
sudden-
just degrades the community.
Well, next thing you know, we have cameras posted all around.
Yeah, so, once you start that, no, let the frickin', let the cops get
Fire
up
all the
there.
cops.
Get the
Yeah,
cops up there.
seriously.
These are really good
I found, I know.
And-
We put a Dunkin'
and something
Donuts in there
I
so the
hope we
cops will stay
did
there.
the application that we didn't cover that. So before we break, just one comment on it. So you heard that, we cover the R&D application.
The what?
The R&D application form.
Oh, yeah, that's a,
What's this for?
this is for storage, right?
This is for Jake's, right, for towing and storage of cars.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I thought, you had to go in front of the ZBA.
We'll get there.
Okay. This is for water district. Water resource.
Okay.
Is this new and different? Okay. Okay.
Okay, do we have somebody that's gonna speak on this, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Richard.
Yeah, we're ready.
Oh, yeah, go, Richard.
Go ahead, yeah, that's his problem. Okay.
Go.
Well, we'll wait until she gets to the computer.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Public hearing, Water Resource District Special Permit, 1 Adams. The Town of Littleton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, May 8th, 2014, at 8:40 PM in Room 103 of Shattuck Street Town Hall to consider the application for a special permit pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A in the Code of Town of Littleton zoning, Aquifer and Water Resource District. Property location is 1 Adams Street, Assessors Map U10, Parcel 30. Applicant is John A. Bowles, owner John I. Dunn. The applicant is for a Water Resource District special permit for Jake's Auto Body at 1 Adams Street. Application and plans can be viewed at the planning board and town clerk's office during their business hours. Any person interested in or wishing to be heard on the proposed plan should appear at the time and place designated. Richard Crowley, clerk.
Okay.
Well done, Jerry.
Thank you.
All right, so this is the building behind the building that sits on the common, correct? Where the auto body shop is, okay. All right, so why don't you tell us what you're proposing for out there?
All right, my name's Peter Knox, by the way, and I'm here working for Jake. Jake is seeking to secure a special permit for the use of a towing and storage business in that large area behind his existing building. He went before the Board of Appeals here in Littleton, and they determined that his current use was an allowed grandfathered use. As part of that decision, they required that he come before this board for a site plan review over his little bit of an expansion of the current use. That's why he's here today. What occasioned him to even do this is that he wanted to start towing for the town of Littleton, more specifically the police department. And John went to the police department, spoke with them, got a very positive response. They indicated that they only had one tow company in town, which they didn't like just having one. They would very much like to have a second, and that if he could get approved, that they would undoubtedly probably use him. So John went ahead and started to get everything all ready because he thought it would be a very simple process and didn't realize that all of a sudden we're in a water resource district and he's going to have to get a site plan review and get a special permit. So it's been difficult for John to understand all the things he's got to jump through to get to here, But he's here now, and he's done, I think, almost everything that's required of him. In speaking with the police department, they indicated to me again that they would like John on board. What they would probably do is they would take the current tows and split them between the two companies. Not every other tow, but like every other week, and or every other month. In doing some research and in talking with the police department, they indicated to me that they thought they were averaging about 250 to 350 tows a year. In speaking with Marion, she determined from the actual records of the police department that last year they did approximately, I think, 430 to 450 tows. I had a further discussion with Matt King, the upcoming police chief, and he indicated to me that the grand majority of those tows are not wrecked cars. They're basically cars that have been stopped and impounded because either of operator violations or because the car itself had a violation, and that they had to be towed. They were towed to the current facility and very quickly removed because all of those owners and operators wanted their cars back. He said it's the amount of wrecked cars is really very, very limited. So what John did next was, at the recommendation of Marin and a few others, he hired an engineer to come up with a plan to deal with the water runoff in that area where he's going to store. It's about an 18,000 square foot area. It's all fenced in. It's a 6-foot fence. It's lighted. It's got everything that's needed for the police department. But it just needed, in this engineer's opinion, a process whereby existing drainage would go through some sort of filtering system, and so that any water going back into the ground would not be contaminated in any way. What he came up with, and you have it before you, is a site plan, which I think you probably only got yesterday or maybe Tuesday. Do you have that in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when it comes to engineering and anything related to math, I'm kind of like a fourth grader, so you gotta bear with me. Everything I'm gonna tell to you, I had to go through it with the engineer. He's not here tonight, he couldn't make it. But essentially, the drainage up there is that the land is very, very thick and sort of impervious, okay? The drainage goes to the back of the lot, the southeast end of the lot. So you'll see that he proposed to put in what he called, let me make sure I get it straight, a deep sump-hooded catch basin. Now what that does is it's a large basin with a hood in it. All the water runs to it, the hood catches the water. The oil and grease, or whatever there is, stays at the surface because it's much lighter than the water. He's going to put in there what he calls filtering pillows. These pillows actually catch oil and grease particles.
Yep.
And periodically they are removed as necessary and replaced with new ones. The water itself is sent to a infiltration system, which to me, I got confused with him. He finally told me, he said, Peter, in simple terms, what that is, it's like a half pipe. He said, filled with gravel. He said, the water's going to go out, sit on that gravel, slowly filter through down to it, and then into the ground. He said, I've designed that system for what would be a normal parking lot. He said, there's really very little limitation on the number of cars you can put in there because this drainage will work so well, especially on the type of land and soil that it currently sits on. So that's what John proposes to do. He is in a water resource district, so he needs an approval of that proposed site plan, and he also needs the approval of the special permit so that he can get going and get his operation up and running. In summary, we have an approved grandfathered use. We have a very small businessman with a very small business who wants to expand a little bit. He's got everything all lined up. He's got his machinery, he's got his drivers, he's got the police all set to rock and roll with him. And I think that he's giving you a design as far as control of the water and management of the water that meets the requirements of the special permitting process. So I've given that to you in a very quick nutshell, and I'm just going to sit back and let you people question us as to anything that you think I may have missed, which I may have done.
Any board have any questions?
I think it's a fine design for that site.
So you're proposing everything in the back is where you want to park the cars?
Yeah, that whole back area.
What's in the bituminous surface in the front? Where do you park there now?
That all sheds to the street.
And that abuts the street, and that's sort of the entrance to go into the garage. There's nothing, we're not gonna be parking until cars.
The only problem is
There's gates across.
it's on gravel.
Right, that's. the
It's
main
on,
concern.
yeah, very impervious, so, yeah.
We don't allow parking on gravel.
Especially if there's an oil spill, that's a concern.
That's what I'm asking. Can you park the cars, especially if they're gonna be short-term on the bituminous there? And if you had overflow, then we could look at it as an overflow situation, and it'd be a little easier to digest that.
I'm not sure if all.
So you gotta pave,
So we,
you gotta pave the lot.
The entire lot?
Yeah.
so Mark, I think what you're saying
The
is.
entire back lot?
What you
I
said.
think,
That's sort of what I'm saying. I'm trying not to say that.
oh,
What?
no, Mark, I think what Mark is saying is that Jake uses the bituminous surface for his towing, and if he has anything extra, then he parks it on the gravel. Is that right?
That's
Yeah, this-
Yeah.
That's a very small bituminous area.
Correct. Well, let me just answer
That
two.
might be outside.
Let me answer two ways. One, Jake is licensed and operates that garage that he operates. No, let me finish.
Okay.
Any car that comes in that is a wrecked vehicle goes into the garage, and every bit of fluid that's in it is drained, okay? So that when it goes up back,
These are not.
no, I
I'm
understand.
not worried about his part of the business. I'm worried about a car that comes in at 2:00 in the morning that has to be put somewhere.
That-
Whether it's an accident or not, it's specifically if it's an accident.
It's
We're
likely
gonna-
to be there for a couple of days.
Where-
I understand. And I'm focusing on the cars that have been accidents, because the ones that are impounded generally have nothing wrong, okay?
You still have to park on pavement. You can't park on gravel. My point is, if you could tell me that you're gonna try to put everything out here in the front, to put it,
What are the requirements for the police impoundment areas? It has to be fenced and locked. Is
That
that?
has to be.
Yeah, you're not storing cars out
The
there.
gates are
we could,
on the other side.
I'm trying to figure a way to get
Gravel
it.
side.
It's supposed to be paved.
Yeah.
Whoa.
What things, the
Wait,
lock gates.
You
are
park cars in here now?
On the gravel side.
Yes, we do.
So there's already parking cars in there?
And they've been doing it for 60
He's
years.
been doing it for forever.
There's a bus barn there.
His grandfather for that.
I don't understand where you're going.
Don't jump too quickly to grandfathering everything. Maybe there's some in between here.
I'm not jumping, I'm just
Can
saying.
it- Yeah, you have to do
He's
something,
parking cars
other than,
now.
you have to come up with a solution, especially for cars that are gonna be damaged, so that the stuff that, it's never gonna get to all this
Can I answer that
detention.
question?
Wait, can you let me finish first? It's never going to get to all this catch basin and the sumps and everything else you're proposing. It's gonna go straight into the ground if you have a broken radiator or if the car's smashed up and it's leaking oil. If you can come up with a solution, I don't care what it is, if it's, the damaged cars go somewhere that'll contain it, secondary containment. I don't care if you don't pay.
Okay, here's a proposal. I asked that question of the engineer, just in case it was brought up. And he said, it's something I didn't think of, he said, until I saw a recommendation from the Board of Health concerning pavement. I said, if the board brings it up, he said, tell them that my recommendation would be that using the parking regulations, space regulations for the town of Littleton, I don't know what they are, but he quoted a space of 22 by 9 feet per space, that he could take a 2,000 square foot area in the back of the lot and pave it. And that would be more than ample enough to cover anywhere between 10 to 12 cars, damaged cars. He says, and we would be willing to do that if it would allow Jake to move forward. It would cover any car that would come in that has a leaking radiator or leaking oil.
Can you put it,
Behind the sump pump,
can
back,
you,
right.
well, actually, can you put it closer to the building? Because Now we run into the issue,
I don't know why, now you break, there's no connection to the drain.
you have residential right here.
There's no connection to the drain.
You move the drain more forward. This drain isn't even built yet. You can move it.
You want to move it?
I want them to move it. I want to put the cars, keep the cars away from the people that live around it. And I want it on something that's gonna collect the.
How many cars do you expect to have in there at any one time?
Well, first of all, if a car comes in Lincoln, I own a garage there, and they're gonna come in and drain everything out of them, because I get paid to do that.
No, I'm just saying, how many cars would you have in a lot at any time?
At any time?
About 14, 15?
14 to 15 cars, and you want them all
Right.
connected to the drain?
No, I don't, the drain way back here doesn't do you any good if it's, you got a car up here.
My point is, if you put a pavement area, you want the pavement connected to the drain.
Doesn't that make a little sense? Yeah.
And the reason we have it back
to
there is
plan
because all the
for
one
it.
pitches. No, it pitches right to that spot.
But it's not, if you're gonna put pavement in there, you're gonna put a drain where you can pitch the pavement.
And that's why I'd like to put it in the back and pitch it towards,
Right, or.
So what do you care, if it's here or there?
You can pave up near the building.
Right.
Have a swale, paved swale at the back of it into the drainage in the back. That way it picks up on everything.
I don't suggest that you do, part of this is correct in what they're paved portions of it, but the last statement seemed as if pave up by the house, have a swale in the dirt, or you want a paved swale all the way back to that corner?
It should be
would be
paved back to the drainage.
Okay, so that means you're, in his suggestion, you're paving next to the building, paving a swale all the way back to the back corner, where his first suggestion was pave near the building, pitch everything to one collection base close to that pavement area, and leave the rest of it impervious.
Call it a day.
Call it a day.
That sounds fair, but the only issue that I have with it again is 9 cars, 10 cars, they said they did 400 tows.
so in a week, that's about 9 cars.
Okay.
That's a car a day.
Well, that's, again, there's more accidents in the winter than there are in the summer. So depending on the time that these vehicles are damaged and towed in, as he said, a leakage, you're only permitted to have I think there should be a limit to the number of cars that are damaged and leaking being permitted to be put on the property. That'd be fair.
That's fair, that's why I'm
It would
recommending
be
10.
limited by the amount of paving.
That's why.
So if you made
your
your pavement larger than just, 9 times 10 is 90 yards, 90 feet by 22 feet, was what you said, 9 by 22 is one space. If you made it larger, then you'd be permitted more cars, correct? As
Correct.
big as you paved is as much as you're permitted. Damaged vehicles, that sound fair?
What would be the cost for paving all of this? Is that?
It's a serious cost, I don't really have
Right,
the.
but you don't have,
But
but
you're
you
rendering
rarely
the whole
have
place
place
impervious. Which
We've got people, are you abutters? Yes. Can you state your name for Myron and tell us?
My name is William Gower.
An address?
An
I own
address.
22 Goldsmith Street,
Okay, yep.
and his property is behind me.
We back to back.
And because of his putting the land up, I don't know who gave him permission, but we have water on our property. And we're forced to put a sump pump in.
It's like we have like a pond back there every spring,
Now, right now.
big time.
That's a pre-existing condition.
Pardon me?
I mean,
How long
his
have you had
site, his site plan is proposed to
We
improve.
haven't seen the site plan. We were at the planning board and they didn't have it. And that was just 2 days ago.
He filled in more last summer, they were
He's been
filling in
filling it
more.
up. The Duns have been filling it up through the years.
But
We
we
haven't
have a
had
copy of the
time.
plan. It might take.
Okay, take one car, take this car.
Well, if they put in this drainage structure, that'll stop all.
Yeah, I know, that's what I said, they would improve the
Right.
drainage.
But their concern is last summer, they cut a few trees and brought some people in, had a bobcat over there, dumping after hours, a lot of crushed stone and all that to make the lot bigger. And now you're talking about paving it bigger, where it wasn't as big as it was before. but
Not
now-
bigger.
No, we're talking about paving in the front.
No, inside the
Right.
property.
But I'm saying, inside that fenced area towards their land, it
Yeah.
was filled in right up to the fence now, where it wasn't before.
But that's, that's their prerogative.
To fill it and
To
put
fill it?
water elsewhere?
Well, they can put gravel on land, yeah.
Well, what we can do is,
Oh, wait a minute.
Corey hasn't seen, only quickly saw the email version of this. We can have him check to see if this would handle it, or whatever the new proposal is.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So
part
we'll
of
have,
it.
we'll have a drainage review done.
Yeah.
We need to have that in the same instance, though, he cannot fill in his property and cause undue damage
Exactly, no, that's
to a
exactly
neighbor.
right, that's what I want
But
to say.
again, whereas, you know, I don't know what your position is there, how much water by anything that they may have done has caused you any adverse things. I don't know how to know that stuff.
Right.
They've
but
done
that's-
that through the years.
Right, but that's where it gets really difficult for you. That's a private issue between the two landowners. It's not something that the town can step in on.
What we're dealing
Well,
with.
we're dealing with a site plan modification,
Right.
right?
Right.
So to the extent that he has a drainage problem on his site caused by filling it in,
Mhm.
that they filled in, didn't come to us for a site plan modification.
Right.
to do
But this
that.
whole plot has been, it's gonna go to
Then
the
they
back of
should,
the
at the
property.
very least, remediate any drainage problems that exist on the site, especially if we're gonna be making part of this property impervious, that's all gonna go to that drain. So they should just eliminate any water that's running off to your neighbors.
But see that,
It never did anything to the
I
end,
don't
but cut
think-
some shrubs out. That's it.
I don't think
Well, that's a
it's,
different story.
this drainage structure would take care of
Yeah, it would.
water.
Well,
The water would run
that's
down there and
part
go
of
in
the-
that drainage.
Catch it up.
Right,
But if
yeah.
it's collecting surfacely at their place, you know, you're putting it into the subsurface.
That's why we need a professional to take a look at it and let them decide.
Well, it could be
how
like,
to-
push all the snow back there and all the snow from the whole yard.
I think
Everybody
if
down
the
there.
professional
Probably
looks
due
at it.
diligence on both of our parts, so that you had somebody look at it.
Yeah.
Is it green is our
Yeah,
people?
we need our people.
I mean, you're not-
You know, we've leaped a great hurdle to this point, and I think for you guys to make the last step in having that done would make a lot of sense, just to make sure that you're good, that they're good, and you get what you want, they get what they want, and everyone's happy. What do you think?
So you would want a specialist to go out and do a review of what creates this problem with their.
No.
No.
We want you to
Make sure the
design a
drainage-
parking lot inside this little area where you're gonna put the cars. It's gonna have pavement, it's gonna have drainage to it. When you do that, we will send it to Green to take a look at the whole area to see how it will impact your neighbors pre and post development.
Green is a civil engineer. They're basically the town's
We'll take
consultant.
care of that. Once
They
you
may
give
be able to
us-
solve all these problems.
Once you give us a plan that shows what you're proposing to do and how the drainage is, then our experts will come in and take a look and say, because the last thing we want is this to put any more drainage.
All right, they don't design, they only look green.
Good look, yeah.
Well, yeah.
When they coming?
No, you have to do design green.
We check.
Yeah, well,
Design right here.
They don't have any real
But we
drainage on
need
it.
need a different
We need
design.
to see where your parking lot's gonna be, where the paved parking lot and how you're gonna.
You want this
collect the
stamped by an
drainage.
engineer?
Really should be.
Yeah, the original is.
It's already been stamped.
Yeah, it's over
Yeah,
there.
you're an
Right,
engineer.
since this was designed, you've asked for the parking to be paved. That's gonna change it, he's gonna have to redesign.
Yeah. Right.
And
So
there's some engineers that have come in and presented for other cases, like the
He's got-
Congregational Church is.
Regardless of who you pick, that's up to you.
He's
to
got
pick.
Ian Rubin working on for him already.
Okay.
So have him design a
You have
parking
your
lot
consultants.
with the drainage, and then we'll have it looked and make sure everything's good, and that should be it.
And decide how many cars you want there.
Make
That
it-
will
make
give
sure you
them
make
the
it big
gauge as to
enough.
how much they need to design this catch basin.
That's it.
It's pretty simple.
That's really all
It has to
we
be
need to say.
reviewed and it has to satisfy everyone.
I mean, maybe that's what he's got right now.
It's gotta be,
Has to have some.
No, I'm saying right now, this mitigation might be enough to do what it wants to do, even with the payment. I'm saying, all we do is just verify it.
just move it forward to where the pavement is, and go from there. He doesn't wanna pave
From
it.
that great test basin, maybe out 15 feet, just pave the piece in the back there.
You may be good. I mean, you just want
That's what I'm
to
gonna do.
That's
verify
what
it.
the slope is. I mean, the back seems to.
So that goes to that area.
It should alleviate their.
Figure out how much space you
water
need.
problem.
I never knew about that problem because no one's ever came to me.
They're bringing it up now.
Figure out how much space you need, figure out where you wanna pave it, and just.
You have to think of how long the cars will
When are we
be there.
meeting
Cars
again?
are pounded. It may be a while before they get released.
For the
You
accident
understand
ones.
what's going on?
No,
He's gonna come back and design a paved parking lot closer to the front, away from the back, to house as many cars as he thinks he's gonna have in his
where is
establishment.
that runoff gonna go to if he?
We're gonna have somebody look at the runoff coming off of his parking lot, once he's designed it. We have an expert, Green Engineering out of Westford, will look at the runoff.
Okay.
He can't make the runoff, he can't increase the runoff to your area, he's not allowed to. So the Green will look at it, make sure the drainage that they've designed will be adequate to keep the runoff on his property. So we're gonna meet
Okay, so
on,
next week, June 12th, we can have the, as long as we get the design here, we can get the review done.
yeah, if you get it to us within the next couple of weeks, you're gonna have Green here, we can,
And you want that closer to the building.
doesn't it make more sense to be closer to the building?
Not if you wanna solve their problem.
No, you gotta solve their problem, it could be in the back.
That's what I'm saying.
That's only,
The drainage can be a distance from the parked area, as long as you have a paved swale. And
It just makes sense, because as soon as he pulls in, it's already paved here, it just extend the parking lot, whatever he needs.
Well, let his,
Let
you know,
let him design
his,
it.
his engineer, and he can do that.
Right?
I'd like to bring to the engineer what you all would recommend this paving. Do you want the paving up closer to the,
It's up to you, we put it
doesn't
wherever
matter.
you want.
Well,
It makes more sense to have it closer.
No, you said you want, tell them you want it closer.
I want it closer to the street, I want it further.
you want it
away
closer
from
to the
house.
street, okay? And then you want,
Some sort of buffer away
and
from
then
the
some
house.
sort of buffer swale that runs it right into what, this system.
Right,
Whether we leave it there or move the system up
closer, right.
Or maybe they extend the slope is back, so.
And the size of this pavement will dictate the number of cars.
Correct. So you figure out in advance how big you need?
So the question is, do the calculate the cars correctly? Because cars might have to go in these
I know what to do.
that's fair. Good.
Are there any other comments?
Yeah, we got it.
Any other issues? Vote on it right away.
I think they're good.
Good. All right, so the 12th,
June 12th, do you want to do this one early in the evening?
yeah, we'll get you in
7:15?
7:15. You gotta get it to us at least 2 weeks in advance, so we can get it to the engineer to take a look at it, so that we can answer it tonight, that night.
You're just about there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that just seems a shame.
All right. We'll see you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right.
Break that parking lot up.
It isn't a parking lot.
That's a parking lot.
That's not a parking lot. It's not a parking lot.
Yeah, good luck.
Hope that everything works out for you.
You can't park a car with a broken radio.
They're doing it right with the whole thing.
We shouldn't have done it in the first place. Okay, we have a 9:15 Chestnut Farms.
So you have the 9 o'clock continued.
Oh, yeah,
hearing.
Farmers Row is gonna continue again.
Right, they asked for another continuance, what I can do is check the deadline for a decision. If it's a problem with that, we'll get Doug to file a.
Okay.
We need a vote continuation.
Yes. When do you want to continue to? The 12th?
June 12th, yeah.
June 12th. Move and seconded to continue the the definitive subdivision and open space special permit for Farmers Row Estates to June 12th?
Sure.
So moved. Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Right, so now what are we doing?
Wow, we're actually on time finally. Just about. See you, James. I thought you were making faces because you were mad about parking cars on pavement. Yeah, sure. Oops, I keep forgetting to switch things on. All right. You're up.
So, Mark, I have a question for you. On the 12th, we'll open Sanderson. Do you want to do Farmers Row first or Sanderson first? Do you care which time?
I don't care.
I'm kind of at a loss.
Does anybody really care? Why don't you put
I'm taking Sanderson first.
because Farmers Row may continue again, might continue again, yeah. Put them last. So that way we'll get out earlier if they continue again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, I'll put Farmers Row last.
Right. Because Sanderson should be ready by then. Okay.
Yeah, we have all their plans.
Sanderson.
All righty.
My name is Dan Corvus with DK Engineering. I was contacted by the property owner of lots 4 and 5 and asked to look at, I'm sure you're familiar with this, but they cleared this area in here, which comes out to about 11 or 12 acres. And they wanted to see what they could do to mitigate any increase in runoff if there is any. Now, I took the existing contours and topo from previous plans, and I came up with a couple, a pre-development, post-development drainage analysis. The tree lines and everything I had on the original was taken from, basically from an aerial photo that was done in 2010. And then the post-development plan was from last year. And it came out pretty close, because the previous engineer had 11 acres, 11.8 acres, and when I calculated, it came out to 11.9 acres. So it's pretty accurate what we have here. What I did is, I did the calculations in two ways. One way, I did the pre and post analysis based on the clearing. Well, first of all, they explained to me what they wanted to do was hay this area. So I did it first with just using hay for the entire area of the 11 acres, so 12 acres, and ran the numbers based on that. Then I went back and I did it again with assuming 1 acre residential composite CN value for the front, which basically says that you've got an acre that's used for development, 20% of it's impervious and the rest of it's grass. It's kind of conservative because that would give you 8,500 square feet of impervious area. Now, they're not planning on, they've expressed to me that they're not planning on building anything. All they wanted to do was hay it. So that's what I did. When I ran the numbers, the TR-55 has a runoff coefficient for hay. It's almost identical to what I was looking at. And it turns out that that's a lower number than woods. So when in the pre-development, I assumed that these areas were a grassy area rather than all woods based on the aerial photo from 2010. The composite CN number I had, I think pre-development was 74. When I ran the numbers with the two 1 acre lots, it came out to identical, 74, but it changed the time of concentration. It made the runoff quicker, which increased the runoff. Not very much. I think it's like 1%.
Where is the
2%.
house going to be?
They're not proposing any houses.
So they're not going to build anything there, they just want to hay it?
At this point, that's all they're doing.
At this point, for right now, but eventually they want to have a horse farm.
I would assume at some point,
And which lots do they own? The two in the middle?
these two,
Okay, who owns the one up on top?
the builder,
Developer Paul Cass.
And who cleared all that land? Was that all cleared at the same
Yeah,
time?
if you look at the picture, it's just going to say.
I was told that they only cleared their lots.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back
Yeah,
to
but
this
really?
before.
Oh, there's definitely clearing on the other lot.
Oh, yeah, we're after. So who do we have?
So why don't we-
Who's needed to the fire?
We need to get him in here too. We need to discuss how to fix that whole problem.
Right, Dan's been hired by the, sorry.
That's okay.
So you're handling you're all three hats?
No.
No, just these two. The property owners that own those two lots are the ones that I'm working
What
with.
about the first lot? That's no bargain either.
That's a discussion outside of.
That one?
Yeah, no, that one.
This one here?
11?
Lot, yeah.
I think that, yeah, I don't, 11. Oh, back here.
No,
This one, lot 3.
No.
The common drive comes in like this. That's what's approved in the latest plan.
yeah. Look how much is, that's all gone too.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
But I don't have any control on that.
Yeah.
I can't do anything on that.
Well, somebody needs to do something about it, because the drainage from the top of the hill all the way down, I guess, we had to have siltation fences put up,
Mhm.
correct?
Yes.
So it's a little more than just, a percentage here, a percentage there. The owner on the top, along with the other two in the middle, are gonna need to do something to mitigate this.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so
And-
you're
Right.
asking to pull in the owners of lots 3 and 11 into this
This
discussion?
is an issue for all 4 of those lots. Do you guys agree?
Well, obviously one person cleared all that, so they all must have been in agreement to clear it.
Yeah.
So they should all be in agreement to fix it.
Right.
I don't, to be honest, I have no idea. I was told that these people that own this told me they hired somebody to clear that.
Oh.
Not outside their lot.
Sure.
Who was the contractor, do you know?
No, I don't. I can find out and get back to you.
But it's working for that person, that one person cleared all of that, all 4
Yeah.
lots.
Yeah.
How do you, but do you know that?
That was my question.
Well, we don't know that.
But look at lot 11, look at the pre and post
No,
right
it's
now.
all clear.
It's all gone.
Yes, and we also know that it's different owners.
Yeah, it
We
doesn't
have-
matter.
We have
It's
one
different
owner here. So are we asking this owner to go and talk to another owner to try to come back into?
You're
the
handling
joint?
both owners right now.
No.
He's
Just
doing nothing more than
lots
4.
4 and 5 are owned by the same person.
Okay.
And that's all.
So
I'm
we-
saying.
How can lot,
He lives in
Yeah,
Florida.
they live in Florida.
how can lot 4 and 5
When,
remediate their runoff when lot 11's draining into there?
Right.
They're not. The flow is going in this direction.
Oh, so it's down.
They
It's not
don't,
going across.
no, they don't combine the flows. They're
But it's still
totally
creating
separate.
the problem further down, where the river,
Well, no, I mean, that means they could in theory handle it lot by lot.
But we need to bring them both in. I mean, that's our
If
issue.
the hydrology is that each lot is independent, then in theory, the homeowner could handle his 2 lots.
Mhm.
And then the other homeowner, 11, should come in front of us and figure out he's gonna fix their lot.
His amount, correct.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
Mhm.
and that lot 11 is still owned by the developer.
We might want to,
Is he coming?
I haven't spoken with him yet.
We might want to tell Roland that we want him to come in and see us. As far as yours, what are you proposing to
Well,
do?
what I was getting at, in the post-development, when you hay it,
Yeah.
when the 2 scenarios I ran, one was with, if they build 2 houses along with it. Because of the increased time of concentration, which is like a minute and a half, there's a slight increase in runoff with 2 houses built on it. Without 2 houses built on it, there's no increase in runoff.
Because you're saying hay's better than the forest.
Yeah. And also on the pre-development, I mean, the post-development with the 2 houses built on it, there's no increase in volume.
So
Because
when
it's
he
the
hays
end.
it, is he gonna rip out all the stumps?
He may have to.
Yeah, he's got hay, covered hay around.
So he's gonna have to mitigate that whole site when he rips out all those stumps,
Well,
plant it.
Didn't we already have, I'm sorry, wasn't there something in line with how many trees and how much you were permitted to clear originally?
Oh, yeah, they're way over. I mean,
All right, so,
they're gone.
Which is why they're.
They're already in
yeah,
violation.
which is why he's here, so he's, he's in violation, not by a Volkswagen, you're in violation by Cat House.
Oh, yeah,
All
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's not just that you're gonna turn what used to be trees and cover into fields.
Mm-hmm.
That's your proposal to mitigate, to do exactly what you wanna do in the first place? That's your assessment of mitigating?
Well, the objective, the scope of work that I had was to analyze it and find out if there's an increase, if there is an increase, how is it to be mitigated?
Okay.
And what I did is I determined that there is no increase if it's hay.
But I think, right, but the process of getting to hay means he's gotta rip out all those stumps. Correct me if I'm wrong, Peter. How much site work's involved with that?
Yeah.
How much runoff is he gonna creating a hay field? How long is it gonna take to get it in that state?
I think
He's gonna have to mitigate all that.
Right.
I think what
I
Peter
agree.
was getting at, but hadn't gotten a chance to get there, is there should be some sort of punitive repercussions to this as well.
Well, as I'm sure Don would know the answer to this, Don, you must have some idea as to how much a tree puts off in oxygen use as opposed to a blade of grass.
Well, there's only calculations for punitive stuff for the wetlands aspect, cutting down by river front. And you can, then their capability is to insist that it gets restored. We're a different board, but there are ways of measuring what's there and doing the calculations. But most of that's through Wetland Protection Act. I'm not quite sure what's here, that's not in our purview.
I'm wondering if you want to take this new information under advisement, and we'll contact the other 2 property owners and see where we're going to go.
Well, I agree, but I also think that there This was an open space plan. This was designed, you know, to leave it sort of in its natural state and everything else. That's what we all bought into.
But
Obviously not that way. I think we need to discuss with town council some sort of, we need money out of this. I'm gonna be blunt and on TV about it. We need some money out of this to buy more open space or buy some fields or something, because that's lost here now. They've basically torn all the trees down and.
Well, you also gotta go back to, just how far back are you talking about, back to its natural
Open
state?
space
Because
doesn't say.
before we got around here, before, every tree from Boston to Springfield was gone in the early 1700s.
Right.
So that was at one point in time fields and right down to the nitty-gritty. Over the last 100 years, depending upon how the size of the trees that have been removed, has now come to that stage. So which state are we talking? The state where we had issues over it? So apparently that, so.
I would think when the project started.
That's kind of where I'm coming from.
So, Mark, you're actually suggesting, a form of extortion here.
I'm not,
No,
not extortion. I'm saying there's
It's
damages to this.
Mitigation.
Extortion? There's
Yeah.
damages to this.
Extortion
No.
to the
We go to town
landowner.
council,
for-
it's mitigation.
Wait a second, for illegally cutting down all your trees and stripping, taking everything out of there?
There's nothing in the bylaws that gives you the right to find somebody.
I'm not saying we fine them. I'm saying that they can bring it back to its natural state if they want. If they can't, which I don't think they can, as an alternative to that, maybe they make a donation so that we can get some more
Well,
open
there is
space.
a value to trees. If you talk to the logging association, if they go over somebody else's property and cut trees off of somebody else's property, there is a value to a tree.
But this is the guy, this,
But also
But in that
regulatory
respect,
boards.
I understand what you're saying, I understand what he's saying, but there is a value, so you can put a value to punish somebody for doing what they did. It's just like an actuous when somebody
you
dies.
can't, I don't think we can punish it.
We
Let's
can't
go to
reclaim
town
it.
council.
This board has gotten into enough litigation. We don't need to be going down that path
Yes, we
again.
have a special permit that indicates a certain area that can be cleared, which can be enforced by zoning. If it's a zoning violation, then the building inspector can levy fines. What we're trying to do is work through the process.
That's right.
Before we levy fines.
Right, to try to come up with something that makes sense for everybody.
A lot of new information that we just got in, including some wonderful aerial photos that show that we need to bring in the other two landowners.
Right.
So that's why I said, hope we take this part under advisement and see.
Absolutely.
So would you say then that if we were working through the process to avoid fines, right, that actually is not a form of extortion?
If a proponent offers on their own behalf something, that's not, that's not, that's not what Mark's
I think
suggesting.
it's Mayor going to
Initiated
town
by the
council.
homeowner, the landowner.
That's not what Mark.
He's in
No,
violation.
I think.
So we
as a-
wouldn't offer to work through the process that way with them? as
We
a-
absolutely would.
I think that he should turn around and say, I think that there is, if you cut down a 12-inch tree, it's $100. You cut down a 48-inch tree, it's $300. Well, he cut down 500 of these trees. So this is the amount of money that he has. And he sit there looking, he goes, listen, I don't have $500,000 to pay you back for, to put these trees back to their original state, because I'm not gonna find it. However, I may be able to afford something that would be, advantageous to the town and to myself, that would be a fair and equal assessment.
All
That
right,
sounds like
to be
something
fair,
that
So you're
I just wanna
suggesting
know
that
how much
something come from the
money-
landowner.
the
how
landowner
much
should
money
suggest.
would they be into for fines if Roland fined them? Do we know that?
Well, and maybe up to town council. Our other land use regulatory boards,
Don,
when there's
he-
illegal cutting,
Don.
what they do is actually measure the stumpage and set.
Don, give
our
Maren
processes.
a chance to answer the question, please.
I believe it's $300 a day per violation,
How many days have we been into this violation?
quite some time.
Like
Since,
300 days?
I'm not sure when the clearing was done.
No, it
I'd
hasn't
have
been
to
a
go back
year.
and
Still
look.
has to
How long's it
withstand
been?
court,
Do you know?
which we don't want to go to
It's
court.
been months. It was probably November when Roland first sent the letters.
Yeah, so
But this
So
is a
maybe, what?
half a year.
But this is a per day violation. There's also the damage itself. Sometimes people also.
No, I'm talking about
assess-
how much money we actually would fine.
Well, I'm saying is there may be two different approaches. I think it's something that goes to town council. I mean, it's ambiguous, confusing enough as it is. Let's
Well, I'm just trying to get a ballpark.
Why don't
number.
you speak with town council, and why don't you speak with your clients and tell them that we're not happy? I'm sure they know the town's
Right.
not happy with what went on out there. We'll work with them to try to come up with a solution, but that they have to.
No, but I just want to clarify that the purpose of this meeting is the hopes of mitigating the violation in the absence of
Correct.
finding.
And
So in this-
come up with an acceptable plan.
So in the spirit of that conversation,
An acceptable
technically,
alternative.
Mark's comment was not out of line.
Just the
Yeah, I mean,
fashion in
it
which
is-
it was
I think
delivered.
that kind of comment from any board member is out of line.
No, it isn't.
No,
Just the
it's
fashion in which it was delivered. I know what he was trying to get, he just didn't get at it in the most eloquent way.
You can't see that. Well, that's your prerogative.
No.
With our enforcement aspects, we don't do an enforcement, Roland does.
We're not
We're doing this in lieu of a fine.
We have no authority to make recommendations. It has to come from the proponent.
No, that
No,
isn't
we
true.
don't. Yes, we do.
Well, we'll leave that up to.
Well, Mark,
Richie's
since
making
you're
a fair and
the
valid
expert
point.
at getting this board into litigation,
Excuse me, Richard?
That's a.
So
What
let's-
litigation have I gotten this board
So
into?
did you have anything else for Dan?
No, we're done with
One
you.
other thing I wanted to point out, you mentioned something about how far back, what it looked like before. This photo was taken in 2008. This was in 2008 where most of it was clear. This photo was in 2010 where this area in through here is cleared. And then obviously the one today where a lot of it's cleared.
Yeah, but what time of year was the first
Yeah,
photo
that's-
taken? I mean, I can't count trees.
June.
All of the pictures were
June?
taken at the same time of year?
No. No, this
No,
was, I'm sorry, this was April.
Oh, I know.
This one was April.
That's in April?
Yeah, so that was not even in the green yet.
So you'd have to take a photo at the same time before you could do that.
The last thing you want us to do is walk out there and look at other
Yeah, it isn't
stuff.
photo
I'm just,
interpretation.
it's showing what I came up with. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you anything other than that's what I found.
We'll address the haying issue, we'll address the issue up above it, and talk to your clients and tell them that the town is still not thrilled about it. We want mitigation, we want some sort of mitigation to the drainage issue, and we want to talk about the violation of the envelopes that were supposed to be left in their natural state up there.
So wait, I'm somewhat up to speed on this. So their proposal, this is their proposal, that hay is the mitigation
Yeah,
for the violation.
for the drainage increase.
It
But
may
it doesn't address the violation.
It may address the erosion. I think that's the real.
Right.
The
I mean,
hay is the
that's-
mitigation.
the intent is to protect the
stop.
downstream.
To stop the
Property
issue,
owners.
to stop the problem that exists right now.
Right.
But, so they're gonna seed it and leave it as is, or are they gonna stump it and then seed it?
My take on it, from what they were saying, is they're gonna seed it as it is.
Leave the stumps.
And, yeah, and let the hay just grow out.
And that's not
That
acceptable.
doesn't sound, because
Hay
this
full
impacts the
stumps?
When he's
wetlands.
talking as hay is one thing, he's talking as haying and for production and.
He's
It's
talking
over
about the grass there.
150
You
yards,
just
150 feet away from the
Just gotta
wetland.
seed it.
But the
Be done
road
with
is,
that.
if it
Be done
impacts the
with this.
wetlands, no
Which
matter
I
how
don't
far
understand.
away it is, it's a
Right.
wetlands.
The pictures are,
violation.
Downstream is the
misleading.
wetland from the site, yes.
So Harry, are you dealing with the Conservation Commission?
Conservation has looked at it and found that they had no jurisdiction.
Okay.
so they're out.
So
So what he does with it is nothing more than, is the violation against what this board originally put on him. So that, there is the violation that he did. If he, presently, if he goes out there and seeds it, the conservation can't say a bloody thing about it. If he tears up the stumps or whatever and causes, erosion in that respect, now we got an issue. It's gonna take, and I don't know how big the trees are. I have no idea.
So, wait, so just for
Back
tonight,
up to the
just for
bus?
tonight,
Yeah.
if we agree that seeding it for hay as a mitigation for right now is okay, it still doesn't alleviate the issue about the violation.
Right.
So shouldn't we, so just to mitigate the site right now, though?
It's a
shouldn't we-
temporary,
Shouldn't we allow them to hay it?
but this is a true mitigation.
He's not gonna hay it.
Yeah,
He's
No,
not
he's-
gonna bale hay.
No,
especially with
He's
stuff.
just gonna grow
plant
grass.
seed.
He's
Shouldn't
just
we let
growing
them
grass.
plant seed? Isn't that a
Right.
rational thing to do?
It's a temporary measure.
And by his numbers,
then that's, you
So
know, his
it's
numbers of the.
Jerry, that's a wonderful suggestion.
That's what I'm saying, why shouldn't we just let them?
Well, it's a temporary measure.
And how long?
Stabilize the ground.
How long is it gonna take them to go out there and play Johnny
I'll
Appleseed?
find out. I'll find out about it.
Yeah,
It's
what
the
is
same
he
things
gonna
they
do?
on highways for fences.
We gotta find out what
I'm
he's
gonna
gonna
have to
do.
find out.
Seed.
All right, so
Would
why don't
we
we
agree with
continue?
that?
Yeah, I agree, I think you're right. Why don't we agree to continue this to the 12th? You find out what their time frame is, we'll find out from town council what we think we should do, and try to get this resolved on the 12th.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And at that point, we'll be in touch with the first owner up above, see what he wants to do.
So,
This is the second time I've used aerial photos, and both times I had somebody in trouble.
Now you can do with satellites, you can do Google.
telling the truth doesn't get you into trouble, it just sets you free.
Yeah.
All right, are we all done?
No, no,
Yeah.
Almost
RMD.
there.
More stuff?
Yes,
In
something.
the beginning.
Oh, yeah, we skipped the forms,
Yeah, the RMD.
RMD application forms, fees, checklists, and procedures.
And I know, my concern is it looks good, you know, item 10 is sort of the standard thing, that you obtain and include a certified list of abutters from the assessor's office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The bylaw does talk about buffer zone of 150 feet. Now, you know, just thinking of town meeting floor when neighbors saying, oh, what about us? How do they get notified? They may not be technically abutters by the standard process, but if the bylaw says, you know, affects up to 150 feet from the property line, I was wondering is, can we and should we try to notify people farther afield than just hope abutters?
We are required in the bylaws, and
Mhm.
we don't have anything additional in the bylaw that says anything other than abutters and abutters to abutters within 300 feet of the property line.
Mhm.
That's what we have. I cannot imagine that if we got an application, the
Yeah.
selectmen wouldn't be notifying everybody.
Well, if you have an application, it would be a major event because only one could be located.
Right.
And, you know, I thought of that too, but that's the only thing I
It
questioned.
doesn't, but without, you'd have to modify the bylaw in
Sure.
order to do
Okay.
that. In order to require the
Yeah.
applicant to do that.
Yeah, and that's why I suspected. I'm sure everyone will know if anything happens, yeah. Okay, beyond that, it looks fine.
Right, we could certainly work policy with the selectman's office and say if we get an application in, I mean, the application has to go to 8 or 10 different departments.
Oh, yeah.
anyway. That-
Everyone's gonna know it.
that, you know, there will
Hopefully we
be a
won't use-
coordinated process to do an additional mailing on the town's behalf. That
Good.
makes a lot of
Yep.
sense.
So it looks good from my perspective.
I don't have a problem. Okay, are we done? I'll entertain a motion.
One last question. Donnie, I want you to explain to me, because my son asked me when he read the article you wrote for the Independent, that the best thing for this town would be Janet and another gentleman for fair and honest government. Can you tell me when I lied to anybody in front of you?
That has
and what
nothing to
friends?
do with this.
Well, no, this is public, it was publicly printed.
that's fine.
I'd like an answer. When did I lie? When was I not honest? And what friends and relatives did I ever benefit on this board?
And I don't
Name
think
one.
I ever claimed that. That's something you're assuming.
Oh, yeah? That's your writing. Those
Yeah.
your words, you signed it.
Right, well, anyone can write.
MacGyver,
Anyone can
member,
write to the
Littleton
paper.
Planning Board.
Anyone can have, you
They
know,
can twist
First
the
Amendment
truth, they
rights
can
of
lie.
speech, same as anyone here. It isn't a lie.
So tell me the one time, name once, that I helped a relative, where I wasn't honest, where I wasn't fair. One. Tell me one.
And I'm not claiming that.
Oh, you claim this. You claim that fair and honest,
I
which
say
means
it's
I
time
am
to-
not.
I,
That's what it, there's only two people running. She is the fair and honest person, I am not. My son asked me this. Do you have children?
what-
Do you
what
have
does-
children?
What does this have to do?
It has to do with you not being able to keep your word. You vote one thing this way, you vote another way on town floor. The CPC people even addressed you right on town floor. So do you have children? It's a question. I do, and it's important to me that my children can walk in this town and know that their father is not a liar or a cheat or benefits others over and above the rest of the town. So tell me one. One.
That isn't what I said. I
One.
did- I did support the
One.
person running against you because I think she's better qualified.
Well, but
Period.
after 20 years,
I can see the benefits the town has reached after somebody else being on this board before me. I like being here. Often, sometimes I don't. I don't like listening to people who lie, who make things up, and I'm calling you a liar.
Well, you don't treat
Right
people
now.
very nicely, including other people on the board.
Tell me, well, you don't deserve the respect you think you do. Tell me, who do you work for?
This is.
This has nothing to do with this.
It has to do with his integrity and his honesty, and I don't believe he has either. He spends more time talking about conservation things than he does about planning things.
No, it's both. It's one
Yeah,
and the
well,
same.
who are you actually benefiting? The people
The
of only
public.
with conservation, or are you benefiting the town for what is necessary for a planning board? That's what a planning board does. It plans in advance. People don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. That's how it works.
You're the one that keeps on coming up all sorts of negative things about other aspects.
Don, why
I'm not accusing you.
Tell me one.
Knocking wetlands, individuals coming, people's religion, their ethnicity. All
I
that's
what?
irrelevant. You have. I mean,
Tell me ethnicity, their religion, tell me one.
I have.
When? Can we,
Sit
can we?
right there.
Wait, we're all done.
No, really, you tell me what ethnicity I embarrass.
Motion to close.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
You are one gutless person.
Don, why did you say things like that?